The stretch drive is getting shorter, the game's getting bigger. It's time for the Bombers and Green Riders to get down to business. As always, the Bombers are close to the postseason. Today, Kent Austin hopes to direct Winnipeg into the playoffs. It would be just what the doctor ordered for Austin, who's known frustration. If KD's been frustrated, he hasn't shown it. Bryant's got blazing speed. The Bombers will need lots of it today against the Riders, whose situation is simple. The Riders have the weapons and none more potent than Don Narcisse. They have a chance if Jimmy picks up where he left off and if Jurison and company play up to their standards. One thing is certain, the Riders can hurt you. It's a beautiful fall day in southern Manitoba, and the heat in this Winnipeg-Saskatchewan rivalry has been turned up a notch for a game with playoff implications. The Bombers can put themselves into the postseason today while formally driving Saskatchewan out. Welcome now to Winnipeg and to the CFL on CBC. I'm Scott Oak. When it comes to the playoffs, the Bombers are money in the bank. A win today, and they're in for the 17th straight year. But do the Saskatchewan Roughriders require any further motivation other than to know that if they lose today, their playoff hopes are dashed for the second straight year? Those hopes are already slim, and we'll get into the math as we go along this afternoon, but the Riders are rejuvenated. The result of a huge win last week over Hamilton, in which Jimmy Kemp, a quarterback of the future, played like his future had arrived. James Curry and Mark Lee will weave a compelling descriptive tale this afternoon. That comes with a money-back guarantee, that pledge. And James, it seems that when these teams meet at this time of year, there's always something on the line.
Well, you know, when you look at it from Saskatchewan's point of view, this is a playoff game. They have to win this. Last year, they came in with the same type of scenario. They didn't win the game. A couple of tough calls that didn't go their way really kept them out of the playoffs.
Mark, the Riders have paid a price for going with young quarterbacks this season. It's really a wonder when you think about that they have any shot at the playoffs at all.
Well, it's no wonder they're 4-11 considering the rash of injuries they've had at the quarterback position. And if you were to find an MVP on this team, you'd have to look at their offensive coordinator, Paul Christ. Jim Daly says he's had the toughest job of any coach in the CFL this year, having to groom 5 quarterbacks so far. And with the exception of the veteran, Warren Jones, who started the season, they've all been young and inexperienced, from Rylance to Mason to Jimmy Kemp, but they've all been very quick studies and very impressive.
Well, Winnipeg hasn't lived by inexperience. They live vicariously through their defense over the years, and it's always been led by their linebackers. Greg Clark is the constant professional. K.D. Williams, the new man on the block with the big plays this year. And they've been the true leaders of this Bomber team this year, and expect big things from them this afternoon.
James, you said it. Saskatchewan driven out of the playoffs a year ago by the Bombers. The same fate could befall the Riders today if they can't keep Williams, Clark, and company away from their quarterback. On the B.F. Goodrich TA halftime report from Winnipeg Stadium today, you'll remember Peter Jordan from our coverage of the Olympics. His view of the games was refreshing and different, and apparently Peter danced his 3 weeks away in Atlanta. How fast can a bus ride between Regina and Winnipeg go if you're with Rider fans? Peter was on the bus for us yesterday. His excellent adventure will be our focus at halftime. We're at a time of year in southern Manitoba when we can have snow or we can have weather like this, and this will gladly take. The conditions will not get in the way of this game, although wind could be a factor. Winnipeg hoping to rise above 500 and confirm a playoff spot. The Riders desperate to win to keep their slim hopes alive. Those are the stakes. Now the game. Here are Mark and James.
All right, Scott. Jim Daly, the rookie head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, between a rock and a hard place this afternoon, desperate for a win. And there's Cal Murphy. A win today, and it's 17 straight years in the playoffs for a Winnipeg football team. You have to go back to 1979 to find the last time the Bombers weren't part of the postseason. Just about set for the opening kickoff. Saskatchewan won the toss. They've deferred, and so Winnipeg will kick off, and Saskatchewan will start from left to right with a small breeze from the north. It's Ruffin and Harris back to receive this opening kickoff from Troy Westwood, a knuckleballer that comes down just inside the 40-yard line. Terrell Ulmer has it on the fly and just about gets to center field, so good field position for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Jimmy Kemp, the son of Republican vice presidential candidate Jack Kemp, with 3 big touchdown passes last weekend against Hamilton. That's the first time that Saskatchewan has had 3 touchdown passes in one game in 2 years. You got to go back to 1994 when Tom Burgess was at the helm.
Well, it was a good game for Jimmy Kemp. He really needed a confidence builder, and I think he established himself last week as a guy who can lead this Saskatchewan offense, and maybe he can get some momentum from the rest of the teammates.
Kemp didn't get a lot of pressure from Hamilton last weekend, but he's facing a pressure gambling defense from the Bombers this weekend. Goes to the far side to his favorite target, Don Narcisse, and the gain will be about 6 yards on the play. John James making his return to the starting lineup for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, anchoring a team that now has 3 imports on that offensive line. Don Narcisse with 8 big catches last weekend against Hamilton. He's become the favorite target for Jimmy Kemp, and he has the first catch of this ball game. Second down and a little more than 3 to go for the Roughriders at the 51 of Winnipeg. Kemp in the pocket, it collapses, and he's sacked. Charlie Clements, the first man to make contact, as Kemp goes down quickly, and the Roughriders are forced to punt.
Well, Charlie Clements, this is what they've been expecting from him. This is his first quarterback sack of the season. He's been moved from the inside to the outside linebacker, weighing about 248 pounds. He just drives Keith Conlon, the rookie offensive tackle, back on his heels. Kemp didn't stand a chance.
Brent Matich back to punt for Saskatchewan. He has the worst average in the league at 41.8 yards. And he'll have the win behind him. End over end, lame duck coming down to the 15 to Freeman Basinger. Through some traffic, gets maybe 5 yards before he's taken down by a host of Rough Rider tacklers. Basinger making his second start for Winnipeg. He's had little more than a week to practice, and he'll be a favorite target of this man, Kent Austin, who's been struggling this year, ranked 11th in CFL passing with 7 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. But consider this, no touchdown passes in the past 3 games.
And you can't have that from your starting pivot. They need some better numbers and productivity from Kent Austin.
Here's Austin. The pitch to Blaze Bryant. Right side, he's got lots of room, finds a seam, and crashes down over the 25-yard line. Blaze Bryant gets the call on the first play of this drive. Chris Walby, the 16-year veteran of this Saskatchewan offensive line, playing with a wobbly knee, bone on bone, but he's the anchor man of an offensive line that has been strong in the latter half of this season. Shannon Baker will move from wide receiver to slot back in this game. The Bombers trying to get the ball more to him inside, as Austin likes to play between the hash marks to his slots. And there's a timeout on the play.
Saskatchewan's already have to make defensive adjustments. Bryce Bevel went down on that play, and he's being helped off the field. They have to bring in Ferguson at the corner and move Armour into the halfback position. But this shouldn't create any problems because they have a lot of interchangeable players in the Saskatchewan secondary.
But Bevel, with 42 tackles coming into this game, is the leading tackler on this Saskatchewan defense, which is #1 in the league against the run. And Nick Ferguson, #6, will come in to replace Bevel at the half. 2nd and 5. The pitch goes to the left side this time. It's Blaze Bryant with first down territory before he's drilled out of bounds by Ferguson. The Bombers establishing the running game on offense early in this opening series.
That was an excellent run by Blaze Bryant. It was a dive play inside, and he broke it to the out.
Brant Robinson anchoring the CFL's toughest run defense. Less than 5 yards a carry average, and there's the strong silent type in the middle. Great battle in his 10th CFL season. Dave Van Bellingham, he had a pick, 1 of 3 from the Saskatchewan secondary last weekend against Hamilton. First down, play action now. Austin, high pass, but it's caught. Shannon Baker takes the shot, goes right into one of the sound men in the monitor, just outside the Bomber bench. But he's all right.
Well, it's not even easy working on the sideline, as our sound man just found that out. You'll see Baker on the square out. Austin was able to get the ball to him. I mean, he put a lot of mustard on it, even though it was a high pass. Makes the reception, but watch the collision after he comes down with the ball by Ruffin, driving him out of bounds.
Another look at it from the high angle.
Troy Alexander's been moved out to defensive end from defensive tackle, so he's going to have to make some adjustments and learn how to move his hands down to keep those offensive linemen off of his legs, as we see one of the offensive linemen for Winnipeg down on the field. Guy Earl.
Guy Earl, the left tackle, is injured.
What's the first call you made? Winnipeg.
Playoffs, and could there be any place in the world far enough away for Brandon Hamilton to hide today, Mark?
Well, those are the quirks that make the CFL so interesting, as Kevin Robson comes into the game to replace the injured Guy Earl. That's 3 tackles now the Bombers have gone through on the left side this year. Here's Austin giving to Blaze Bryant, but there's a flag on the play as Bryant is hit in the backfield by Gary Rogers.
Well, you're going to get Saskatchewan offsides on the play, and you're going to get Winnipeg with an automatic first down. When you're a team that's struggling and you have a poor record, you cannot afford these types of mental errors.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 96. First down.
We got to try in the 96 on the roster. They might have meant Robinson 98.
So the Bombers continue to use their ground game early on against a Saskatchewan defense that has played more downs this year than any defense in the CFL. Austin back to pass, has got time, looks to the right side, but it's way short, and that looks like a miscommunication between Austin and Myron Wise, and that has been a problem that has plagued this receiving corps because of so many changes they've had, 14 and 15 weeks because of injury.
Well, it may look like a miscommunication, but it looked more like pressure up the middle. Edwards and Robson doing a great job of collapsing the pocket, and that's what you expect from your defensive tackles, to be able to get that push up the middle. Ken Austin only wants to take about a 5 to 6 step drop, and when you're set short, you have to get rid of the ball early, and the pressure got to him before he could release the ball.
2nd and 10, Austin, short drop across the middle, and it's nearly picked off by Ulmer. That one intended for Freeman Basinger on the hot route. That was right into the hands of Ulmer.
Well, that has been a problem for Saskatchewan secondary this year, is dropping a lot of football, so you'll end up with a lot of knockdowns. But what they're doing is that they're reading the routes, they're jamming the receivers at the line of scrimmage, not letting them release freely, and able to get better position on the football when it's in flight.
Bob Cameron, the 3rd leading punter in the CFL with a 43.3-yard average, standing at his own 31-yard line. Rod Harris, Aaron Ruffin back to receive, looking straight into the sun. High, towering punt from Cameron. Harris takes it his own 18, and he's got a little bit of room, breaks a couple of tackles, and makes something out of what looked like a dead stop, but there's a flag on the play. 2 flags.
Well, you're going to get a roughing the kicker, which will negate the punt return, and the ball will go back to Winnipeg. Vincent Donaldson came in, looked like he might have been touched by Dean Lytle, but nevertheless, they're going to get called for roughing on the play.
So the Bombers benefiting early. Saskatchewan penalties.
This has been 2 costly penalties for Saskatchewan in this drive, and as I mentioned, when you're struggling, you have to play a near flawless game, and Saskatchewan already have dug themselves in a hole with 2 critical penalties.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Saskatchewan number 24. Illegal block. 5.
Well, they can only be charged with the first penalty here if Winnipeg decides to take the ball, where he was actually pushed in the back by his up back, Dean Lytle, who forced Donaldson into Cameron. As you'll see the push come right off the corner of your screen, he couldn't avoid the kicker, but it's going to cost Saskatchewan possession of the football.
Randy Shrajensky was also called for an illegal block downfield. That one, of course, does not come into play, as the Bombers will take over the football.
Can you say that name again for me?
He could use another vowel. Buy a vowel. So they'll move the ball to the Saskatchewan 49-yard line. Kent Austin hoping to get back on the same page with his receivers. We talked about that a few minutes ago. It takes a long time for Austin to gain the trust of his receivers, and he's been talking about so many changes, that so many times that being a timing passer, he throws to a spot and his receiver has to be there, and if it's not quite often, it'll go right into a defensive back's hands. Here's Blaze Bryant, sacked for a loss on that play. Greg Battle read that one perfectly.
Greg Battle has been playing outstanding at middle linebacker. He came into this game with 8 tackles for loss. That's his 9th on the season in only 8 games. He is playing like he did when he first came into this league with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You see him read the counter trade as any great middle linebacker should. Step in behind that moving offensive tackle and make the play. Chris Walby does not move as well now as he once did.
Put the Bombers in a 2nd and 14 situation. Austin, quick drop across the middle again. This time it's complete to Blaze Bryant, but it's short of the first down. Bryant, a one-man workhorse for the Bombers early on in the first quarter on the ground, and now out of the backfield.
Well, that's what you have to have is a running back who can play all phases. You see Walby and Jurison. These two have been facing each other for 11 seasons now. You can see how Kent Austin sits short in the pocket, which does not allow his offensive lineman for a great deal of blocking time, and so it forces him to throw the ball short in the routes.
The Bombers will be about 2 yards short. And so Troy Westwood, who has been 15 of 15 in the field goal department in the past month since coming down with hepatitis A, will attempt this one from about 48. Lots of leg, and it's wide left. And Ruffin will concede the single. Troy Westwood missing his first field goal in 16 attempts. 1-0. The Bombers get the first point of this game with 9:13 to go in the first quarter. Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium, where the Bombers lead at 1-0 here early in the first quarter as the Roughriders get set to go on offense. And that offensive line, James, has been retooled, showing some pride after some people said they threw Matador blocks a few weeks ago.
They did. They were holding up the skirt and say run on through, but this time they put John James at the right guard and hope for good things from that.
The give on the right side, heavy traffic. Robert Mims is brought down after a gain of about 3 yards. Robert Mims, the first 1,000-yard rusher in Saskatchewan since 1978 when Mike Strickland did it.
Well, what a pleasant surprise, you know, to have Robert Mims come back and have that outstanding year that he is having thus far. To have well over 1,000 yards, being led by Hendrickson from the left guard position, coming up, picking up a few on first down.
For Strickland, it was George Reed at 74. Here's Kemp, 2nd and long. Picked off by K.D. Williams across the 40. He's got some momentum, and he's finally hauled down by Bruce Boyko near the 20-yard line. K.D. Williams plays a good game, and he talks a good game.
Become the emotional leader of the Winnipeg defense. He has been known for his outstanding hits on players, but he's an excellent coverage linebacker. As you see the pocket collapsing on Kemp, he had to force the ball, and Williams was right out in the flat, playing his pass coverage perfectly, making the pick.
Here's Austin with the fake handoff on the reverse to Shannon Baker. Tries to turn the corner, but Saskatchewan was waiting for that one.
Well, they were waiting on it, but it was the most successful running play that they had as we get a look at K.D. Williams. The last time these two teams met, the reverse by Baker was a very successful play. He had 80 yards on 2 runs versus the Saskatchewan defense, and they're trying to get him going early again.
K.D. with his 3rd pick of the season. The second-year player is drawing NFL scouts. Last week, New York Giants and Jet scouts watching him in Toronto. This week, Washington Redskins. He's only 23. Handoff to Blaze Bryant, and he's stacked up in the middle of that Saskatchewan defense. Saskatchewan allowing an average of only 4.4 yards per carry on defense. That's the soundest defense on the ground in the league right now.
Well, it's tough treading trying to run in the middle of the Saskatchewan defense with Edwards, Robson, Alexander, and Jurison on the front 4. These 4 can get after it. They bring it on every play.
So the Bombers will be
about a half yard short on this play, and they're going to have to gamble. But if you recall last week, in Toronto at Sky Dome when they went for it on a 3rd and a half and did not get the first down. What they do is they make some adjustments with their offensive line. They will bring Walby in at guard, trying to get more surge on the inside. He'll be moved in at the right guard. Actually, they're going to leave him at the tackle this time because of the gimpy knee. But expect for him to move over to his left on the sneak.
He's playing bone on bone on that knee. The pitch plays right.
And they didn't get it. They did not get it. Saskatchewan came up and made the stop defensively.
What do you think of that call, James, going with the pitch, starting 4 or 5 yards deep in the backfield when you only need a 1.5 feet?
I have to question the call by Cal Murphy on that play, and Ken Austin, who has total control when he's out on the field. You have to go with the quarterback sneak. You got the big guys up front. You average about 300 pounds across your offensive line. If they cannot get you a half yard, they didn't gain an inch on the play. That Saskatchewan defense is a very tough run defense, and they proved it on that play, denying Winnipeg the first down.
So for the second game in a row, the Bombers will turn the ball over on downs.
Watch the pursuit of this Saskatchewan defense when the ball is pitched. You don't pitch the ball 6 yards deep in the backfield when you need to pick up a half yard on 3rd and 1. And that time, with the pursuit of the Saskatchewan defense, they made the stop short of the first down.
The look says it all on Coach Cal Murphy. First down, Saskatchewan, their own 13. Kemp hands up to Robert Mims, but once again, he runs into heavy traffic right through the middle of the Winnipeg defense. Dunstan Anderson, one of the few to make first to make contact there. Anderson, in his 3rd game, former quarterback at Tulsa. I guess he outgrew that position.
Very interesting story. He was recruited as a quarterback in college, but each year he seemed to get bigger, and as his senior year, he became a starter on that defensive line and recorded 7 quarterback sacks in his senior season.
2nd and 8, Saskatchewan, deep in their own end. Kemp pumps once, looks deep down the field for Farthing, but it's 5 yards over his head, and he was double covered. And so, Saskatchewan now in a punting situation in the shadow of their own goalposts.
Well, he's getting the protection up front from his offensive line, especially interior. If you can't get any pressure right up the middle, the quarterback should always be able to step up in the pocket. As you see James drive Scribner to the side, Kemp has a clear throwing lane. All he needed to do was step up and take another second and check off to a secondary receiver.
Brent Maddich is standing on his own 1-yard line. Basinger and Shannon Baker back to receive at about midfield. Another wobbly shank from Maddich, but a good bounce. It drives Basinger back to his 48, cuts across, gets a block, tries to get outside, and is finally hauled down at about the 50-yard line. Darren Joseph making the tackle.
Mark, it's not hard to keep track of the Winnipeg receivers this season if you have this abbreviated Winnipeg phone book. Look at this. Man games lost to injury amongst the hardcore receivers like Stiegel and Gulliford and Wise and others is actually incredible. On the list of Bomber excuses for a less than productive offense, this is number 1.
Shannon Baker with the hit pass. Bobby Jurison was all over him. That was a 60-yard punt on the bounce and a 14-yard return. The Bombers once again starting with good field position, but right there, that gain was negligible. Maybe 3 yards.
John Pierre.
Leonard John Pierre from York University, the rookie backup running back. Second and 13. Ken Austin rolling right. Pressure. Cross the middle to Baker. He's got it. And he's got a first down. Shannon Baker moving to the slot from wide receiver last week, whereas the team's leading receiver, he had 1 catch for 2 yards.
Well, this time making the adjustment. That is his natural position, playing the slot. You see him on the crossing route, and he has the separation. They did get the jam, and he was able to run free. But watch the crushing blow by Ferguson as he comes across. And he's taken several of those shots over the past couple of weeks. I don't know how many hits Shannon Baker can keep taking.
Nick Ferguson subbing for Bryce Bevel. with a couple of big wallops so far early in this game on defense. The handoff plays Bryant. Right side across, right behind big Chris Walby. The gain will be about 4 yards. The Bombers on the march.
Dan Rasevich came up and made that hit, the initial hit on Bryant on the running play. Dan Rasevich, a very interesting story. In his 13th season, had an eye ulcer 3 weeks ago in a BC game and played through that game with the eye, very blurred vision. He's since recovered from that injury, but he's been playing outstanding. You're always going to get the best that Dan Rasevich has to give.
2nd and 5, Bombers. Austin with time, back across the middle. And Myron Wise can't put the grip on that one as he reached back across his shoulders.
Well, Vincent Donaldson with an excellent break on the ball, leaving his man, coming over on Wise to bat that one away. The ball was slightly behind Wise. As you'll see, Battle applying pressure on Ken Austin, and he delivers a blow just as the quarterback throws the ball. And Ken Austin has had shoulder problems, and when you take hits like that, you won't last long in a football game.
That shot right into the sternum of Kent Austin. 39-yard field goal attempt for Troy Westwood. Once again, lots of leg, and he's wide left for the second time in this quarter. Aaron Ruffin will run it out, gets to the 5, and is hauled down. Troy Westwood, uncharacteristically wide on both of his field goal attempts so far today.
What'll you do with the money you save during Speedy's 40th anniversary fall savings day?
Troy Westwood has now missed field goals from 39 and 48 yards out. The charts show us that he's usually good on 80% of those attempts.
Well, you can see it's well within his range. He's just been pushing the ball to his left. He has a slight breeze coming across from right to left as we're facing in the stadium, and that could affect the flight of the ball.
Once again, Saskatchewan with bad field position on first down. Jimmy Kemp at quarterback. Makes the draw. Looks down the middle. Complete to Don Narcisse. And a first down. Donald Narcisse, who came into this game 5 catches short of tying Rocky DiPietro for number 2 on the all-time receiving list at 706.
Well, he's only 3 off of that right now. And for the young quarterbacks of Saskatchewan, when you have a problem and you have a Donald Narcisse on your team, that is the receiver that you look to, because he will make the catch. If it's a catchable football, put it in the area, he'll make the grab.
First down, Riders digging themselves out of deep field position. The handoff straight up the middle as Robert Mims twists and turns and makes a decent game.
When you look at the games that Narcisse and Mims had last week, they were the most critical parts of the Saskatchewan offense. The 9 receptions by Narcisse, where in the previous 2 games, he had only had 1 in each, but 141 yards on the ground by Mims. That means that you don't allow the opposing team to get on the field offensively.
Going into that game, in practice last week, Kemp was saying he had trouble with the hesitation move that has become the bread and butter of Narcisse, and so they worked all week for Kemp to have more confidence in Narcisse. Once again, trust between quarterback and receiver. The dump pass over the middle. Bruce Boyko has it and puts his head down, and he's close to the first down.
Bruce Boyko has been probably the most important member of the Saskatchewan offense. He is an unsung player. He's not going to make big plays, but he is the one who you can always count on to get the key block or make the key reception.
There's big Keith Conlon coming out of the Indianapolis Colts camp. Played his first game last week, one of 3 imports starting on that offensive line.
He's a pure rookie out of Penn State, and he's being tested early in this game.
1st and 10. Decent drive going for Saskatchewan. Once again, the draw to Mims. This time he's pancaked with a gain of about a yard or 2.
John Kropke in the middle of that Winnipeg defense is a stalwart. Came over this year after several solid seasons in Ottawa, and he's been a big addition. Cal Murphy was very happy to acquire him in the offseason, and he has proved his worth in that Winnipeg defensive front 3.
Kropke, the man that flushes quarterbacks from cover into the waiting arms of linebackers like Snipes and Clemens, Katie Williams, and Greg Clark. Fierce linebacking core here in Winnipeg. Kemp looking deep, but it's a floater. Deep coverage, and it's picked off. Bobby Evans. In the Labor Day game, he was beaten deep twice by Curtis Mayfield. 89 and 95-yard bombs for touchdowns.
And that's one of the problems that you run into when you're throwing a timing pass and you only have one receiver in the route that you're looking for. He floated it as you spoke about, and when you lay a ball that deep, that long, you allow the secondary to close. Evans came off a farthing, was able to help out Mallett, make that Shannon Garrett on the field, and made their interception.
So Mayfield, who embarrassed Evans in the Labor Day game, gets picked off, and Austin is sacked. Huge loss. Timothy Edwards, the nose tackle from Delta State, coming up the middle to put Ken Austin down. A dearth of scoring here early in Winnipeg. Tim Edwards savoring his first sack of this ball game, and the Bombers had to know this was coming because Saskatchewan blitzed on 88% of the time on first downs.
Well, they have the best tandem at defensive tackle in the CFL. Saskatchewan does, of Edwards and Robinson. And when you get that push up the middle from your two big guys, it makes it much easier on the corner, and they didn't need any help from the ends on that play.
You got to know that feeling.
It's not a bad feeling for a defensive lineman. Getting a sack is like an offensive player scoring a touchdown.
Second down and long. Winnipeg. Austin in the shotgun. He's got time. Looks to go far down the wide side for Basinger, and it's just outside his reach and incomplete. And Austin takes a shot again after releasing the ball, that time from Bobby Jurison.
Well, that time he hung in the pocket as we get a look at the first quarter numbers, and we see the turnovers. Saskatchewan with 2 critical turnovers, and when you're struggling, as I mentioned earlier, you can't afford that.
21 points on turnovers the Bombers scored last time against Saskatchewan. There's the shot again as Austin actually was taken down with kid gloves there.
Well, that's something as a defensive lineman that you don't normally do, but Bobby Jurison and Ken Austin know each other quite well from their days in Saskatchewan as teammates.
Another skyrocketing punt from Cameron deep. Harris at his own 25 has a seam. Finally brought down. Lays Bryant and Rudy Wade Miller on the tackle for the Bombers.
Sometimes when you get a kick of that distance by a kicker, you outkick the coverage, but he had great hang time, Bob Cameron, the best inclement kicker in CFL history. As you see Wade Miller going down, one of the best special team players in the CFL, making the stop on Harris at the 43-yard line.
Wade Miller, the leader on special team tackles on this club, coming into the game with 18, and another right there. A 54-yard punt from Cameron, an 11-yard return. First down, Saskatchewan. The handoff to Robert Mims. Oh, and Greg Clark just grazed him on that play.
Spoke about Clark and Williams in the opening. Williams has already made the spectacular play with the interception return, but Greg Clark is the real run stopper in this Winnipeg defense. He is always the one to stay at home. They let Williams freelance a bit more, but Clark will always stay in the middle. He may not make the tackle, but he will always run you in to the next tackler available.
Clark and company limiting Mims to 14 yards on 5 carries so far in this football game. Kemp to the air, tries the hook comeback route to Dan Farthing, but it was nowhere near him. Jimmy Kemp now 3 for 7 in this football game with 2 interceptions and 27 yards passing. Well, not like he was last week when he had 3 TD passes.
Last week things came easy for Kemp. He came in, he really didn't have the pressure on him, and that's what you get a lot of times with a young quarterback. When they come off the bench, they feel at ease. Even though he came in the second play of the game, it was a different mindset that he came into the game with. He came in not as the guy having to win it.
3rd and 6 as Brent Matic punts. This one decent into the wind. Alan Boyko takes it. No yards will be the call here as flags drop immediately. So once again, flags on special teams will benefit the Bombers in terms of field position.
Well, the flags have been a big deficit for Saskatchewan in this game already here in the first half, and they've taken some critical 15-yard penalties. And when you're fighting for field position,
No yard. Saskatchewan number 58. First down.
when you're fighting for field position because your offense is struggling, you cannot afford to keep putting your defense up with their back against the wall.
Brooks Findlay, who recovered a fumble in the last game against Winnipeg, tagged with the no yards call. There are the numbers on Kent Austin, 50% for only 30 yards.
Well, neither quarterback has looked sharp here in the first half. Austin, the big veteran, Kemp, the youngster.
Austin, play action, flags on the play, and the play is whistled down. Looks like procedure.
Well, you're going to get a false start on Winnipeg, and this is something that may help Saskatchewan, because whenever you can force Kent Austin back to start his drives at 1st and 15, 1st and 20.
Procedure, Winnipeg number 60. Repeat first down.
Dave Van Conant with the procedure call, the Bomber center.
This is where defensively you have to come up when you're a defensive back and jam the receivers. You don't want to let them get a free run off into the secondary. You want to slow down their route and allow some more pressure to be applied by your front four.
Saskatchewan putting pressure so far in this game on Kent Austin. 1st and 15 with the staggered count. Draws Robinson offside, it appears, as flags fly again.
Well, you got an offensive lineman moving also. What Kent Austin is doing, he's doing too much motion with his upper body.
He's not going to get the call either.
Procedure, Winnipeg number 5.
There's too much motion with the upper body. He is trying to use the voice inflection to get Saskatchewan to jump offside, but every time he's raising those optics, he is jerking the shoulders and jerking the body, and the defensive lineman recognized that and jumped, and the official made the proper call.
That call has Austin furious. And
you get a good look right here. Watch as he's jerking his body around, and you're not allowed to do that. You can't hunch those shoulders, initiating the movement.
Make it 1st and 20 now, Bombers. Austin goes to Myron Wise. That pass only 8 yards, so it'll put Winnipeg in a 2nd and long situation.
And that's the advantage that I spoke about with Saskatchewan being able to pick up that penalty. Kent Austin has not been noted over the past couple of years of throwing the deep ball with any authority, and when you're throwing that 7- and 8-yard pass and you have to pick up 20 yards in 2 plays, advantage defense, and Bryce Bevel is back in the game making the stop on the play.
But look how long Wise is waiting for the pass. Another indication of the hesitation that's taking place between Austin and his receivers. 2nd down, 12. Austin flushed out of the pocket, rolling to his right, looking for an opening. He's going to run, and he takes a hit.
And he is down. He is going to be down after this hit. Terrell Ulmer came up and made a devastating shot on Kent Austin, and he is holding his left shoulder. Kent Austin has been noted over the past few weeks of taking some severe hits and not being able to get up off the turf. Looks like he might be suffering from a possible concussion.
Reggie Slack immediately picks up a football and gets set to warm up as Austin lies prone on the field. He's only run the football now 5 times in the last 4 games.
Well, he's not a mobile quarterback. You'll see as Troy Alexander on the right of your screen collapses, but he doesn't keep contained. Kent Austin escapes out of the backside. There's no support. You'll see Ulmer right in the middle of your screen. Watch as he closes on Kent Austin and lowers that shoulder right into the back of the head of Kent Austin, and he takes that severe blow, and he's still down on the field here. That is one of those dangerous hits, and you teach your players not to duck your head, and that's the most critical thing that Kent Austin did, was ducking his head. It exposes you to more susceptible and makes you more susceptible to injury.
Reggie Slack warming up behind the Bomber bench. Austin there lifting his head momentarily. That's a good sign as Jeff Fisher attends to him. Another look from the end zone.
Well, you know, this has been a big thing as of late in the CFL. People have started questioning the hits by players in the open field. That players are coming in leading with their helmet. The crown of the helmet in the CFL rule book, if you use it leading in on a tackle, it should be an unnecessary roughness penalty.
Austin still down. We'll check on his status when we come back. Kent Austin now up on the bench, clearing the cobwebs. Let's listen to the forces at work on that last hit. Wow! That's popping leather.
It's called bringing the hammer.
Now they're having a look at Austin's eyes, checking perhaps for concussion.
I don't suspect we'll see him again this afternoon, not out on the field playing.
3rd down, 10 to go, and so Cameron will punt from his own 35. Gets another spiral, but this one drops at about the 30. Good bounce. Ruffin waits for it, tries to draw a flag, and he'll get no yards. Then bails out, looking for an opening, and is drilled from behind. right where he caught the ball at the 20. Wade Miller once again tracking down Aaron Ruffin.
Wade Miller's become one of those players that he prides himself in playing special teams. He makes it a personal mission every play to try to come down and make the tackle.
54-yard punt, and the return negligible thanks to the well-coiffed Wade Miller.
First down.
Well, this is becoming a game of flags here. I mean, every series we seem to get a flag down on the field. Now Jimmy Kemp, can he settle himself? He has struggled the past 3 series, not being able to pick up first downs. Only one on that pass down on Narcisse. He needs to get some momentum rolling with his team, get to put together a nice little successful drive.
Kemp finally has some decent field position, scrimmaging from the 36-yard line. Rolls right, looking down the sideline. Narcisse tries to get open, but can't break free of Damian Lyons, who was draped all over his back. The Bombers, a pressure defense. We know that, and Colin Scrivener telling us yesterday the intent is to put the pressure up the middle and flush Kemp to the outside.
I think that the first thing with Regina is if we can stop the run, then Kemp gets really nervous because Snipes starts to have a little more time around the corner, and so does Charlie. So we'll get the pressure up the middle, me and Dunstan, and hopefully they can close the corner. We'll just keep closing the gap on them.
The Bombers think that Kemp might be nervous facing the likes of Snipes on the outside. Pump fake. Dumps it. It's a screen pass to Robert Mims, and he's got lots of real estate. Mims jumps over the 50 and is hauled down from behind as he crosses center field. It was Greg Clark tracking him down.
That's the best play call that you can call in this scenario. You got a blitz coming from Winnipeg. You're knowing you're going to get the pressure on 2nd and long. You let them come through, and you get your big offensive linemen seeping out. You get James out in front along with Vida and Hendrickson, and you get Mims with the slip screen, getting the pressure from Scrivener, but it's all for naught because the screen was set up. You see Hendrickson and James out in the front, leading the convoy for Mims.
Good poise from Kemp with Scrivener right in his face mask. The completion and a first down at the 49 of Winnipeg, but this time the draw is snuffed out, and it's Colin Scrivener and K.D. Williams with the tackle and a loss of 1.
Roughriders are checking Kent Austin. They're fearful of a concussion. He had one earlier this season. You know that he got his bell rung by Elmer on that hit that he took a few moments ago. He's got the date, the time, and the place right, so his cognitive abilities apparently are okay. Also, they're a bit concerned about his shoulder, as you can see, but the major concern is about a concussion, and they're not entirely sure if Austin can return to this game.
Rash of concussions felling quarterbacks in the CFL this year. Heath Rylance, Matt Dunnigan. Great fake, the big hit pass by Kemp. Then he goes right down the hash marks to Rod Harris.
Well, that's something that you have to do from time to time when you have a great pursuing team. Come with some misdirection. Winnipeg has run into success on Saskatchewan in their last 2 meetings. This time, as you say, he fakes the hit screen out to farthing in the flat. You get the floor of the linebacker, K.D. Williams, headed that direction, which opens it up over the middle for Harris to run the deep end route, and they pick up another first down.
Kemp has been effective with the out and ups and pump fakes. Twice in this drive, he's been good on those kind of plays. This time, play action. K.D. Williams with heat. Rolls outside of Scrivener. Buying himself some time. Kemp, though, can't find a receiver and is hauled out of bounds by Charlie Clemens. Jimmy Kemp with a rare scramble.
Well, this is some of the things that they've been expecting from Charlie Clemens. He's already recorded a sack today, and now he's been able to track down Kemp. They come up the middle with the blitz with K.D. Williams and Clark as they come through. But watch the block by Mims on Clark as he stops him right in his track. But K.D. escapes through and flushes him out of the pocket. But Charlie Clemens is able to close and drop him for a 3-yard loss on the play.
That's exactly what Colin Scrivener was telling us. 2nd down, 12 yards to go. Saskatchewan. Long count from Kemp. Tries the quarterback draw, but he gets nowhere. K.D. Williams hog-ties him for another loss.
Is there a more exciting defensive player in the CFL today than K.D. Williams? Not only is he an entertaining spectacular, but he is a great defensive player. He has knowledge of the game. He's never out of position, and he makes the big plays. Watch as he reacts to the quarterback draw. He breaks down, wraps up on Kemp, and drops him for the sack.
K.D. Williams worth the price of admission himself.
And he acknowledges his audience.
Field goal situation. Frank Jagger from just inside the 45 on the right hash. He's got the distance, and he's good. And so the Roughriders will take the lead, however slim, 3-1 in the second quarter.
24 hours.
Well, here in Winnipeg, Saskatchewan leads 3-1, and coming up tomorrow on the CFL on CBC, a Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. We start with Montreal and Ottawa and conclude with a rematch of the two best teams in the league, Toronto and Calgary, to face the Stampeders. Doug Flutie's homecoming, Mark.
That should be a dandy. Flutie with all those Stampeder records. Reggie Slack at the controls for the first time in this football game, and he's incomplete. Slack. We mentioned how Austin hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 games. He's only got 1. Now he has a chance to take control of this football team.
Side, Saskatchewan number 98.
Well, this is the earliest that Slack has been in a game in some time, not since the Edmonton game when Austin went down in the first quarter was he able to come in early in the game in relief, and he was able to pull that game out. Now, does he have any of those heroics left in his arm this afternoon versus Saskatchewan?
Austin was 5 of 9 for 38 before he left the game with that shot to the head. Deep pass now. Slack airing it out for Shannon Baker, but the coverage was too tight. And there are flags on the play. Shannon Baker trying to extricate himself from that coverage. The flag is back at the line of scrimmage.
Illegal block to the head. Winnipeg number 69. Repeat first down.
Bobby Pandalidis with that illegal block to the head. And so they'll move the ball back and make it first down and 15.
Blaze Bryant on this last play laid a crushing block to protect his quarterback, Reggie Slack. Watch as he gets the play fake and he steps up in the hole and he just plants Tim Edwards right in the pocket. And when you got a running back who is willing to do that, your quarterback should have adequate time in the pocket.
Slack with all kinds of time on that deep attempt. Play action. Slack now rolling the corner. Finds Alan Boyko wide open, and it's a first down. Alan Boyko back in the lineup after missing last week with a concussion.
And that's been a problem, but he's been noted to have the best hands on this Winnipeg team. He came into this game, you talked about he and Baker being interchangeable from wide receiver to slot back. This play, he was the wide receiver in the formation, taking the deep out from Slack for the first down.
Bomber coaches often say at training camp, they look at Alan Boyko and say, we can do better, but they can't. They say he might be the best receiver at reading defenses and their most dependable man. Slack with some confusion tries to roll out and is dropped for a loss on the play.
Well, it wasn't the confusion, but what happened was Saskatchewan rolled up the coverage, 0 at the line of scrimmage, and jammed the receivers. He was expecting to throw a hot, but it was not available because of the secondary. You'll see the 3 steps by Slack. The defensive backs have jammed the receivers. He's trying to check down, but when you've only taken a 3-step drop, those defensive linemen are right on top of you.
Bobby Jurison telling us before the game that they will blitz Slack more than they would Austin because he has a slower release. 2nd and 13. Slack. Time across the middle to Dean Lytle. He hauls it in and tries to struggle for more yards, but he'll be short of the first down by 3, maybe 4 yards.
And you talk about the blitz on that last play. Greg Battle came through and almost got to Reggie Slack on the play, and he forced him to throw short to Dean Lytle and underneath, and the pursuit. As you see Slack stepping back, and Battle comes late right up the middle and drops him. Winnipeg was short of the first down on the play.
Well, they talked about this being a street fight, and it's turning out to be one. Both quarterbacks on both teams taking a pounding.
Well, you're talking about 2 of the most tenacious defenses in the CFL, and when you look at Saskatchewan, they've played more defensively than any team in the league this year, but you have a bunch of players who love hitting people.
Bob Cameron has averaged 54 yards, and there's another skyrocket. This one angled to the sidelines and out. Right in the coffin corner. So Saskatchewan will be pinned deep when we come back to Winnipeg Stadium.
Now,
The mountain man, Keith Conlon, at right tackle for Saskatchewan. If there's a player to rival the size of Chris Walby, it's him at 6'7", 314. And how about the tail of the tape in that matchup between him and Angelo Snipes?
Well, Angelo Snipes is a hands player. He's a finesse player out on the corner. And when he has to go against Conlon, he does not have a reach advantage, so it makes it very tough for him.
Once again, Jimmy Kemp with poor field position. Play action, naked bootleg. He's got time, but there's Snipes. And Kemp throws it away, and he'll be flagged.
But he had a receiver in the area, Curtis Mayfield. What happened was Snipes was coming with a twist blitz inside as we get the call. Snipes started off originally with the blitz inside and was able to recover on the naked boot and get back outside. As you see Conlon on the play, double teaming Scribner. They were trying to get Winnipeg to go with the flow. The old veteran Snipes stayed at home and made the play.
And just as we thought, Jimmy Kemp flagged for grounding. Second down, 15. The ball on the 6-yard line. Kemp in his own end zone. Throws down the sideline, it hangs up, and it's nowhere near Don Narcisse. And another flag.
Well, you're going to get a holding call because that's what you get in that area. And so I expect Winnipeg to decline the penalty and force Saskatchewan to punt. But also, this is an area in the field where Saskatchewan might be considering taking a safety just for the field position.
3:59 to go in the half.
Saskatchewan number 63. Penalty is declined. Third down.
This is where you have to consider, because if you punt it the way Maddage has been punting, they're going to get great field position up around the 35, 40-yard line. That is Winnipeg. So you really should consider taking the safety and punting from the 25, giving yourself a much better chance at field position defensively.
Saskatchewan now has given up 47 yards in penalties in this first half. Maddage standing 10 yards deep in his own end zone with an average of barely more than 40 yards. He will indeed run the clock and concede. Forced out of the end zone by Wade Miller. A 2-point safety for the Bombers, and that will tie this football game at 3 with 3:40 to go in the first half.
Well, this game has become a chess match where both teams are playing for field position, and that was an excellent call by the sideline and Coach Jim Daly to concede the 2-point safety, punt the ball from the 25-yard line, give your defense a much better chance at field positions, and not give Winnipeg the short field to run their offense with.
So a shrewd tactical move on the part of Jim Daly as he confers with Jerry Freese and his linebackers and special teams coach. There's Dickie Adams, the defensive and special teams coach for the Bombers, preparing for this return.
Well, they're going to return a wall. They're going to have a wall return set up. So expect whichever side of the field that the ball goes to, the ball will return back to the opposite side on a wall return.
Great crowd this afternoon here in Winnipeg at Winnipeg Stadium. The team had 26,000 before the walk-up today on a glorious afternoon for football here in southern Manitoba.
It is quite surprising to be in Manitoba, your hometown, this time of the year and not have it freezing, even though I did get invited over for Thanksgiving dinner, and we're going to talk about that later.
I got to tell the folks back home, though, that you did request a space heater 5 minutes into the first quarter.
Well, the floor is cold.
Kickoff taken by Basinger. He mishandles it, grabs it, crosses the 20. And is quickly hauled down, but it's a reverse! Shannon Baker fooled everybody! He's at center field! Finally brought down by Ferguson! That fake fooled everybody, including me! Jim Daly said yesterday, we're going to be expecting that reverse, and they didn't this time.
Well, they were expecting it on punt return, not kick return. They had the wall right set up. They had the flow of Saskatchewan coming that direction. Baker came back against the grain, but a great open field tackle by Nick Ferguson to save the touchdown, but excellent field position for Slack and the Winnipeg offense.
Bombers will start on the Saskatchewan 43. Slack, lots of time, airs it out far side. It's complete to Myron Wise, and he has a first down. This drive set up on that 57-yard reverse by Shannon Baker.
One of the adjustments that secondary players for Saskatchewan are going to have to make now is that the ball will get down the field to a wide receiver on a deep out, where they didn't have to respect that with Ken Austin. You have to respect that with Reggie Slack because he gets just a bit more velocity on his throws.
Myron Wise, CFL Offensive Player of the Week in Week 8 with 9 catches, 185 yards, but he's been hurt most of the year. Handoff to Basinger, but Bobby Jurison is waiting for him. So Basinger is lassoed for a loss.
Wherever the Riders play, a contingent of their fans shows up, so it's only logical lots of them would make the bus ride to Winnipeg for this one, and also only logical that Peter Jordan would join them for an excellent adventure. We'll see how the trip went on the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. We'll also hear from Doug Flutie as we set the stage for our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader tomorrow. Rider pride and evidence at Winnipeg Stadium today, and somewhere in the middle of that group, I believe, is Pete Jordan. He's an honorary member now, and again, we'll hear from him on the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. Mark?
Whole sections of green here at Winnipeg Stadium as Rider fans come in big numbers for this one. Slack, 2nd and 16, over the middle. He's got Wise wide open at the 15, and it's complete. Reggie Slack now 4 for 4 at quarterback for the Bombers.
Benson Donaldson was the cover man on Myron Wise on the play, but Wise able to get the inside release. When you don't have the support from your halfbacks and you're playing man-to-man, if that receiver can get that inside release on the break, as you're seeing Basinger running off the middle of the Saskatchewan coverage, there was no support, and a perfect strike by Slack.
Slack with enough time to have a cup of coffee before delivering that one. Here's Blaze Bryant on the pitch out. Gets through a host of Saskatchewan tackles before Tim Edwards brings him down for a short gain.
And that's excellent pursuit from the defensive tackle as we see Cal Murphy going over the game plan. Tim Edwards working inside out. Pursuit down the line, getting to the ball carrier before he could pick up any substantial yardage, limiting the gain to only 2 on the play.
Bryant and the Bombers having trouble establishing the ground game. 16 yards on 6 carries so far. There you see the Bombers with only 8 on the ground in a 2nd and 7 situation. Deep in the red zone. As Shannon Baker tries to one-hand it, the quick hot route was behind him, and this has been a problem that has plagued the Bombers all year. They get in scoring position, and they can't put the ball in the end zone.
Well, a lot of the blame has been put on on having 15, 16 different combinations of receivers this season, but you can't put it all there. You have to look at the 2 quarterbacks. When you have a 2-quarterback system and you have 2 different strengths of arms, as you see in Slack talking to Baker about, you have to recognize what I'm looking at, and I'm going to throw the ball to you. When you got the ball coming with different velocities from the 2 different quarterbacks, it really disrupts the timing. Austin is going to get it there quicker because he's going to release it quicker.
Now we've got a problem on the Bomber bench. Slack and Baker look like Slack throwing a punch at Baker after that heated discussion. And the field goal is botched. Troy Westwood now 0 for 3 in the field goal department. And that looked like a mix-up between the center and the snapper. As we look at Westwood once again, who came into this game, as we mentioned, 15 for 15. There's Baker getting a word from Cal Murphy. That was a heated exchange on the sideline between the quarterback and receiver.
Well, you'll get a look at it right here on replay, right here. Watch the 2 of them. Cal Murphy is right between them as Baker throws a punch at Slack. As Cal Murphy is trying to break that up between his quarterback and receiver, Baker took exception to what Slack was saying, but as the quarterback, you have to control the offense. You have to make sure that the receivers are in the proper position, and he was upset that Baker overran the route.
What does that do for team chemistry? First down, Jimmy Kemp looks for Curtis Mayfield. Mayfield, who makes the catch and steps out just shy of the first down marker.
When you talk about team chemistry, this has probably been the most difficult year of Coach Cal Murphy's coaching career here in Winnipeg. With all of the injuries and the roster changes, the uncertainty at quarterback, not knowing who is going to be able to play on a week-to-week basis, it has caused a lot of problems for him. And now that you have the internal problems with the players fighting, he's looking to the heavens for help.
Cal Murphy, who has struggled, as you mentioned, to find a receiving combination week after week, and there has been some criticism of Shannon Baker's receiving routes. There you see Baker with the quick right jab to Slack after that missed pass situation, and Slack throwing to Shannon Baker, and it was no good.
And you can't have team dissension like that. And now how will that affect the continuity of the offense? Slack is the one who has to deliver the ball equally amongst the receivers. Will he continue to look at Baker, or will he make him an outcast in the passing scheme now? And with this team being depleted at receiver like it's been this year, you can see the separation even on the bench. Players not willing to sit close to each other. Now you have Graham going over to talk to him and console with him, but they have problems. And if you have problems like that on the field, then they reach well beyond just the playing surface here.
Well, again, it speaks to the frustration the Bombers have when they get deep inside scoring territory, and they have to go to this man, Troy Westwood, who's having a tough afternoon, 0 for 3.
But you don't see Troy Westwood punching Bob Cameron.
No, they're good buddies. Westwood missing twice inside the 25, twice of his 3, and here's Robert Mims with all kinds of daylight. Mims across center field and driven out of bounds by Darius Watson.
I think about the 40, he blew a tie, and he started leaking oil about the 50, but Robert Mims was giving it his all, boy. I mean, he was chugging it going up the sideline. I mean, 10 years ago, he might have scored, but you can look at him right now. It's a perfect search play. He breaks it back to the boundary, but watch as he shifts gears right here, and he couldn't get it in gear. And everyone just ran him down. You can see he was giving it all, but Saskatchewan with great field position at the 46.
And some jump from the elderly Mims, the only first down this quarter for Saskatchewan, as they move across into Winnipeg territory. Kemp, short drop, goes to the short side to Bruce Boyko, turns the shoulder on the hit from Shannon Garrett. The gain is 4.
Now right here, this is the most critical play of the game for Saskatchewan. There's a minute 24 to go in the half. They have a 2nd and 6 at the 42-yard line. Jimmy Kemp has to reach into his bag of plays right here and come up with something to keep this going. They need to get into the end zone for a major. Just settling for a field goal is not adequate at this point.
Jimmy Kemp good on 7 of 12 attempts for 82 yards. 1:24 to go in the half as he hands off to Mims. Mims sidesteps a tackle. He's got another first down before K.D. Williams rides him down at about the 27-yard line of Winnipeg.
The more Robert Mims touches the ball, the better he becomes. He's like any good running back, as we see Jaggers on the sideline. They want to touch the ball 20, 25 times a game. And once again, they come with the search play, allowing the offensive lineman to get their blocks. He reads it exceptionally well. He has great peripheral vision. He picks up the hole, breaks it out for the first down.
1st and 10, Saskatchewan at the 26. Fumble! Looks like Kemp got it back.
I think he hit the ball on the leg of his pulling offensive lineman on the play. Looked like Hendrickson, as he came around, Kemp kept the ball extended, and it knocked the ball out of the quarterback's hand. As you see a concerned Jim Daly on the sideline.
So that'll put Saskatchewan into a 2nd and long and passing situation.
And this is where Winnipeg loves to blitz. They will bring the house, look for them to bring 7 up front against the young Jim Kemp.
Force Kemp to make the read. Cal Murphy says he respects his intelligence and his ability to read defenses. Kemp goes to Narcisse on a hitch screen. A great call and a first down. Gutsy call from Jimmy Kemp to go with the hitch screen.
But Jimmy Kemp has shown a lot of poise in the last 50 seconds of this drive, getting his team down in the red zone inside the 15-yard line at the 14. The pass to Donald Narcisse, who has the best hands and is only 2 away from tying Rocky DiPietro at this point, has it 1st and 10.
Robert Mims with the call, but Lots of traffic up the middle. 19 seconds to go in this half.
And this is do or die time right now for Saskatchewan. They're going to get a shot here, and you have to go to the end zone. You have to throw it in the end zone.
Jim Daly calling for a timeout, trying to get Jimmy Kemp's attention, but he won't get it as Kemp puts the ball into play, and he's sacked for a big loss. Charlie Clemens and Angelo Snipes. Tag team Jimmy Kemp.
And they tried all that they could to get the time. Charlie Clemens is having an outstanding game. This is his second sack of the afternoon and the season, and this is what they needed. They needed the support from a Charlie Clemens. He's going to come from the top of your screen up here. Charlie Clemens comes off of the corner clean. He's really untouched by James. You got to get more of a hat on a defensive end than that. But great effort, weighing about 250 pounds, dragging down Kemp for the devastating sack against Saskatchewan on the play.
The Bombers are going to put Bob Cameron and Troy Westwood into the end zone on this 30-yard field goal attempt by Frank Jaggis.
It went from a chip shot, Mark, all the way back to a challenging field goal. Now the pressure is on Jaggis, and he's had a struggle over the past few games coming into this week. Can he get this in? It's only a 30-yarder, but you got a lot of pressure to go along with it.
Riders inside the Bomber 25 for the first time in this football game, but driven outside on that great sack. And now Jaggis, who's ranked 6th in kicking in the CFL, faces a 30-yarder straight down the goal post. Cameron and Westwood waiting for it. But they won't need them as that one sails straight through. And with time gone on the clock at the end of the first half, it'll be Saskatchewan taking a 3-point lead. 6-3, the Riders in front. All points coming on the kicking game. We're back after this.
Welcome to the B.F. Goodrich TA Halftime. Now, here's your host, Scott Hope.
With Saskatchewan leading by 3, welcome to the B.F. Goodrich TA Halftime Report. As part of our Olympic coverage, Peter Jordan drove from Winnipeg to Atlanta in a less than reconditioned 82K car. Winnipeg to Regina, not entirely sure if Pete could have made that grueling 6-hour trip. In any case, he had the car crushed in Atlanta, but he did make the bus ride in from Regina yesterday with a group of Rider fans, and so today we present Peter Jordan's excellent CFL adventure.
Come on, Peter, we got to catch that bus. Grab the pebble can and give us a hand.
A pebble can? Is this a pebble can?
Wouldn't be a tough choice at all, I don't think. 7:36, 5 degrees and a west wind of 7.
Come on, Peter, speed it up. Denise will be here any minute.
Oh,
Come on,
really?
we got to go catch that bus.
Yeah, good enough.
Jesus, I can't believe that guy pebbled the ice. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. Jeez.
On the way.
No, Peter, we made it.
Okay. Morning. Is there a washroom on this thing?
Green is the color, football is the game, we're all together.
Well, Peter, it's time to sit back, relax, and it's only fair to warn you, you're in the party zone of this bus.
Really?
You got her.
This will be my 22nd consecutive year into Winnipeg.
I believe this is probably about my 7th or 8th trip now, so,
Wow.
yeah.
I couldn't help but notice you have a baby.
Yes, I do. This is lucky. We take her along with us on all our road trips.
That is very cool. So how many of these trips have you been on?
I think this is my third.
Third. Well, you obviously have a good time.
We try.
Okay, there's the Regina coolers. Here's the La Flèche cooler.
We win! La Flèche wins!
Sins of La Flèche. So are you skipping out of work? Oh, you can't be seen on TV? Zoom in. Zoom in.
We're all together, and winning is our aim.
Saskatchewan fans are the best. There's no doubt about it. win or lose, we're there to support our club. We love football, love getting together with our friends. It's just a good time, whether you're winning or losing.
Welcome to Winnipeg. Winnipeg, as you know, roughly translated means a contest for pirates. Win a peg. A little swift for all of you. A little quick there, was it? And if you look to the right of the bus, you will see the Winnipeg Stadium, home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. No, really, I'm sure Saskatchewan is a lovely place. I'm sure they'll win tomorrow.
Well, I'm here in the stands amongst Saskatchewan fans, though I have to admit I know how a Thanksgiving turkey feels at this time of year. Kind of a semi-hostile environment surrounded here by all these fans, isn't it? Kind of semi-hostile. Okay, so after you kicked me off the bus and we weren't friends anymore, what'd you guys do last night?
Oh, there's about 3 or 4 parties going on. We went to a hot tub party at a friend's house, and others went to the Palomino Club. Some stayed and partied at the bar at the hotel, and everybody had a great time.
So nobody getting a lot of sleep in preparation for the game. Now, Kevin, I was worried about Moosomin that a lot of the people weren't going to get to the game. Did everybody get here?
Everyone got here, Peter. No matter what you put your body through the day before, you got to make game day.
All right, Scott, back to you.
All right, Pete, you fit right in, and I mean that as a serious compliment because those are salt-of-the-earth football fans. Thanks for your time. Riders leading through 30 minutes here in Winnipeg. The BF Goodrich TA halftime report will continue in a moment.
This is going to be...
Less than a month to the playoffs, Riders trying to stay in contention as we continue with the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. We've got a Thanksgiving Day doubleheader tomorrow. Start with Montreal and Ottawa and finish with a rematch of the league's 2 top teams. The Argos, led by Doug Flutie, are in Calgary to face the Stampeders, and Flutie knows better than to expect a warm welcome at McMahon Stadium tomorrow.
I would presume I'll probably get booed like everybody else does when they go back to a former team. And it's just part of the game, I guess. But it will be interesting to see the reaction. I mean, there's a lot of loyal fans there that appreciate the efforts that I put in over the years. But it's always the other guys that are a little louder, a little more boisterous.
Flutie leads the Argos tomorrow. Defense is leading both teams here at Winnipeg Stadium today. James, Bomber offense been under some heat this year, and I would suggest in the first half of this game, from botched field goals to punch-ups on the bench, they deserve every bit of it.
Very deserving heat that it's been under. This team seems to be in total disarray right now offensively. They need to find some continuity in halftime in the locker room.
Mark, Bombers just can't score from the red zone. They practiced a lot on it this week, and apparently it didn't do any good in the first half of this game.
It hasn't helped much. They've been inside the Saskatchewan 20 twice, and on both occasions they turned the ball over. This is the first one. Austin, 3rd and less than a yard, tries the pitch out 5-6 yards deep to Bryant, and they don't get it.
But your big guys up front has to be able to get you that yard on 3rd and short.
Then after a failed pass to Shannon Baker, this punch up on the sidelines, there's Baker with the right to the head of Reggie Slack. That play was followed by a 3rd botched field goal attempt, and the Bombers can't get anything into the end zone.
And we see what Saskatchewan was trying to get a timeout right before the end of the half, and they couldn't get it. Charlie Clemens came up with the big sack to drop them back at the 20-yard line, and it forced them into a long field goal attempt where they had an excellent opportunity to possibly get it into the end zone for Major to close out the first half.
Hey, how bad is it when a receiver punching the quarterback is a first half highlight, but it's only 6-3?
Well, it's been really tough. Neither team has been able to find some offense here in the first half. They have to go in, regroup their game plans, and come out with something positive in the second half.
All right, here at Winnipeg Stadium, the Riders lead through 30 minutes, 6-3 the score, and that's the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. The second half is next on the agenda from Winnipeg.
Welcome back on a beautiful fall afternoon in Winnipeg as Jimmy Kemp warms up his team. Saskatchewan leading the Bombers 6-3 to start this second half. Big reverse this time as Basinger hangs on to it. Cuts, makes a few tackles, breaks, and gets across the 40-yard line. That was all Freeman Basinger as he looked like he was trapped deep. Shannon Baker threw a scary right in the first half, but his intent is to scare the defense with routes.
I mean, the defense is sometimes disregard some of the patterns we run because they don't think we're going to throw the ball. So, you know, just like I was saying earlier, sometimes the defensive backs won't even turn their shoulders to get them upfield to threaten them some. So we're going to have to go out and give them a different look or run some different routes or whatever to just, you know, to get them off of some so we can get a little room to catch some balls and make some good plays.
Bad blood in the second half started there by Slack actually tapping Shannon Baker on the head, and then Baker with the counter right to shot to Slack's head as Cal Murphy tries to mediate that dispute. It all began after the missed pass from Slack to Shannon Baker deep inside the 10-yard line of Saskatchewan.
Well, I think all those tensions that they had between each other were settled at halftime. As you go into the locker room, you have to face each other. They only sit about 3 locker spaces down from each other, so they had a chance to go over whether the problem was is we see Blaze Bryant being helped off the field, and they cannot afford to lose Blaze. They've been happy to have him back in the running game, and he's been trying to find his groove, and now he's lost possibly for the rest of the game.
The first half stats virtually even. Net yards 129 to 105, the edge to Saskatchewan, but both teams with 2 turnovers in a 6-3 football game.
Well, the 2 turnovers, but also some critical bad play timing that they had. Saskatchewan, when they tried to get the timeout at the end of the first half, and they didn't see the coaching staff on the sideline yelling for it. We'll see the injury on Blaze Bryant as he tries to make a block and he falls over a Saskatchewan player and gets his leg rolled up on.
Didn't look too terrible. We hope to see Blaze Bryant back into this football game. As Slack rolls right, Bryant facing her. He puts his head down and is close to a first down. As Bryant gets a 10-2 on the Bomber bench. He had anterior cruciate knee surgery a year ago. Let's hope it's not a repeat of that as Leonard Jean-Pierre from York University, the ranked rookie, comes into the game to replace Bryant at running back.
Well, he has a lot of raw ability, and they're hoping big things in his future, but he's been pressed into service now.
2nd and 1. Slack will hand off to Jean-Pierre, and he rumbles over the right side and looks like he might have enough for the first down.
He picked it up, and that's a plus for the Winnipeg offensive line. You see the pass distribution. Shannon Baker, who we saw in that interview, and Myron Wise share the bulk of that workload, but they've utilized 5 different receivers in the passing scheme.
And only 9 passes. The Bombers got to do better than that if they want to get in the football game and put the ball into the end zone. As Slack takes over. 1st and 10. The ball just shy of midfield. Rolling left. Wide open is Shannon Baker. With the extra effort, is close to the first down marker as 2 feuding players get back together in the second half.
Well, I think they might have gone into the locker room saying, hey, all you have to do is get open and I will get you the football. Slack with the quick hitch out in the flat to Baker. Gave him time to get his shoulder squared, and that's what you like as a receiver, where you can get squared and look upfield, and he picked up the first down.
Blaze Bryant is back in the Bomber huddle. And there's confusion now. Myron Wise says, do I come out? Jean-Pierre is told to get off the field by Blaze Bryant as Slack tries to call the signals.
They'll just take the delay of game. They should just take the delay of game, but now it's cost them a timeout, and you only get 1 timeout in the CFL, and that could be very devastating as the game wears on late in the 4th quarter.
Once again, these Bombers, a picture of disarray on the sidelines as Cal calls his quarterback over for a chat.
Well, I think Blaze felt that he was healthy enough to go back in the game.
But he's got to stay out for 3 plays.
You have to stay out for 3 plays, and he went in on his own. And Reggie reacting as the time clock is running down. He didn't want to lose the field position, but it would have been better to lose the field position than to burn your time out at this critical point of the game where you still have a second half yet to play.
So Bryant obviously unaware of the rules, which state a player must leave the game for 3 plays.
Well,
he spent
some time down south in some training camps where it's a little different down there.
Slack now, short roll right. Oh, and that was dangerous as Vincent Donaldson had the read on Myron Wise and nearly picked it off.
Vincent Donaldson with an excellent break on the ball. Vincent Donaldson has been victimized a couple times in the first half, but trying to redeem himself. Watch the closing on the football when it's in air, and he's playing the ball, and that's why you don't get an interference. A defensive back is allowed his space on the field, and if he's playing the football, you can't throw a flag on him.
Myron Wise was open for at least 2 or 3 seconds before the ball got there, allowing Donaldson a chance to anticipate. 2nd and 10. Slack with the drop play. Bryant off tackle left, and he's got daylight. Blaze Bryant finally collared by Dave Van Bellingham deep in Saskatchewan territory. Blaze Bryant, who left the game for 3 plays with a leg injury, showing lots of jump there, but holding on to his hamstring.
But an excellent open by the offensive line. You see, as you spoke about him grabbing that hamstring, there is a problem. But up at the top of the screen, I don't know if we'll get it in, but Boyko lays a devastating block on Ferguson at the boundary, which allows, you'll see it right there as he's getting up, as Ferguson is getting up, allowing Blaze Bryant to get down to the 15-yard line.
Bryant grabbed the hamstring as he was spun around, going out of bounds by Dave Van Bellingham. Here's Slack. Comes back on the curl pattern, and it's complete. Myron Wise has the ball with close coverage from Donaldson.
2 things that make this play successful. It all starts up front with the offensive line, giving the quarterback the time, keeping the defensive lineman hands down. But watch Myron Wise. He is working back towards his quarterback. And when you work back towards your quarterback, you close the gap and you get the separation from the defensive back. And there's no chance for a pass breakup or an interception.
First and goal from the 5 for the Bombers. 3rd time inside the 20. They're in the red zone. Can they convert? The pitch to Jean-Pierre, and he's got the touchdown. Finally a chance to cheer at Winnipeg Stadium. The Bombers get the first touchdown of this game as the rookie Jean-Pierre comes in relief of Blaze Bryant and turns the corner for 5 yards and a touchdown.
But watch the pulling up front by the offensive lineman. Pangelides gets out on Greg Battle, which does not allow Greg Battle to get to the hole where he normally would be. The key block, touchdown, Jean-Pierre.
Point after is good. The Bombers in double digits for the first time this afternoon as Slack engineers the first touchdown of the game. It's 10-6 Winnipeg, a 69-yard drive, and the rookie hits pay dirt for the Bombers. Leonard Jean-Pierre with his first touchdown of the season, capping a 69-yard Bomber drive, 6 plays, 4:50 off the clock. And Winnipeg is in front 10-6. And Westwood's kickoff sails deep into the end zone. Rod Harris is back for it, and he'll concede a single. And up on the 35, K.D. Williams exchanging pleasantries.
K.D. Williams always entertaining, but back to that touchdown that Winnipeg scored right before the kickoff here. Bobby Pangelides, the guard here, he's going to come around. He's going to seal block. You got Craig Battle, who's going to get cut off, but watch the block by Lytle coming out on the corner, and that is the key. The rookie running back, Jean-Pierre, does a great job of reading. Battle can't get there and close the hole, and he waltzes in for the touchdown.
Great job from the all-rookie backfield. Lytle from Notre Dame leading the way for Jean-Pierre of York.
And he has excellent running style there. He keeps himself low center of gravity. He doesn't outrun his blockers, and you get that sometime with rookie running backs, but great peripheral vision.
Andrew Henry with a pat of support for his teammate on the Bomber bench, and it's 1st and 10. Saskatchewan at the 35. Kemp looking deep down the sidelines, but once again, that ball floats far out of bounds and out of reach for Curtis Mayfield.
And what a difference a week has made for Jimmy Kemp. Last week in Saskatchewan versus Hamilton, he looked so poised and ready to become the leader of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where he's been rattled most of the afternoon by the consistent pressure of this Winnipeg defense.
Right now, Narcisse continues to be the favored receiver of Jimmy Kemp with 3 catches for 33, 2 shy of tying Rocky DiPietro's record of 706 all-time, number 2 in the CFL behind Ray Elgar. 2nd down, Kemp with pressure, and he's sacked. Charlie Clements with the victory dance and some help from Dunstan Anderson.
Well, it's been a baptism for the right tackle. Todd Storm is now playing right tackle for Saskatchewan, but Charlie Clemens at the top of your screen is coming around the corner, basically untouched, a whiff move on Todd Storm, and Jimmy Kemp did not have a chance in the pocket with a little celebration afterwards.
Bombers now with 5 quarterback sacks in this football game. Kemp having trouble negotiating their defense. The alternative for Saskatchewan is Marvin Graves, who's only been with the team for less than a week. He hardly knows the names of his teammates, let alone the Saskatchewan plays. Basinger takes this punt at his own 46 and has nowhere to go. There is a flag back at the 23.
Winnipeg was offsides on the play, and you spoke about Marvin Graves, which may not be a bad idea to bring Marvin Graves into the game for a couple of series and let Jimmy Kemp look at things from the sideline where he doesn't have the constant pressure of that defense coming down on him. Marvin Graves, as you spoke about, only been in camp about a week.
Offside. Winnipeg number 58. Penalties decline.
But he's been around the CFL for 3 years. He understands what teams are doing, and you can come in. He has a short package that they gave him to work with. May not be a bad idea here in the third quarter to bring him in for a series or two.
Marvin Graves has played on 4 teams in the CFL, Toronto, Hamilton, BC, and now Saskatchewan. A good young quarterback out of Syracuse. The problem in this league, young quarterbacks just don't get a chance to develop. First down, Bombers at the 48. Play action now. Slack rolling right. He's got Basinger wide open. And Basinger gets an extra 5 with a quick move across the 45.
What Reggie Slacks brings to this offense is extra time in the pocket. He rolls out by himself another second and a half, which really allows your pass routes to develop. Basinger dragged that route all the way across the field, found an open seam in the zone, picked up the first down.
Slack freezing the linebackers with the play action. This time, short roll left, looks back against the backside. He's going to go deep for Wise, but he's covered. Picked off, if not for Wise's effort to come back to the ball. Benson Donaldson once again all over Byron Wise.
Oh, that ball was underthrown. Tim Edwards was hanging on the ankle of Reggie Slack, so he couldn't get it all. Wise was behind the coverage, as you'll see Slack with the throwback across the grain, but the Saskatchewan defensive tackle holding on to the ankle did not allow him to get full velocity on the ball, and it came up short, and very fortunate he didn't get intercepted on the play.
Good call, James. Troy Alexander holding on to the legs of Slack, not allowing him to plant properly and get that deep throw. Second down and 10. Slack is 8 for 11 for 106. Backside, he drops the ball, and Saskatchewan might have it. Robinson looks like he's got the ball, but there are flags on the play.
Well, Chris Walby ended up with it after the ball was down on the ground after that tussle, but we're going to get some offside flags here. It looked like Bevel might have jumped into that neutral zone, number 30, the halfback for Saskatchewan. He came up with the hit, but he may have had an early run at the Winnipeg quarterback.
So the call is going against Saskatchewan.
Hold on, forget about him.
Well, I don't know if you can get a pass interference on a player if he never got off the line of scrimmage. You're allowed to jam a receiver.
Bevel made the initial contact.
Winnipeg number 2. Illegal contact, Saskatchewan number 35.
Well, they're calling the illegal contact on Greg Battle. Now, you call illegal contact, you're allowed to jam a receiver. There's a 5-yard window where you can hit a receiver in, and it's not obstructing, and he's placing the ball at that 5-yard window. So how can you call an illegal jam on the play? And yet, he never even threw the ball, so it was never a pass play. So how can you say he was in a pass route?
You got me.
I think it got him, too.
The Bombers breathe a sigh of relief here as they benefit on that quirky call.
Well, I think this goes back. If you recall the game here last year when Saskatchewan had a similar scenario when they were down on the goal line and they thought on 2 successive plays that they had gotten into the end zone.
Low, red.
When Tommy Burgess was quarterbacking the team, and that might have cost them a victory last year in the game here under similar circumstances.
25-24 the score on September 10th. Bombers winning that one. Burgess, you're right, looked like he was halfway over the goal line. Here's Slack across the middle, but Wise can't hang on to it in traffic. Once again, Donaldson draped all over him. So it'll be a punting situation for the Blue Bombers.
Well, Vincent Donaldson is riding a wave right now. One time seems like he's being taken advantage of by Wise. The next time he'll come back and make a nice break on the ball to break up a potential reception. He's running hot and cold, but that time he was hot and made the play.
Speaking of that 25-24 game last year, September 10th, Kevin McDougall was the star quarterback of that game, and that was his one big shining moment. He has
bask in the sun.
A backup, a scout team offense quarterback here in Winnipeg, and has yet to get back to that form. High, towering punt from Cameron, who's having a great day. Aaron Ruffin at his own 8-yard line makes a couple of nifty moves and buys himself another 10 yards and gets the ball across the 20. So deep field position for Saskatchewan when we come back.
Bombers leading by 5 halfway through the third quarter here. Better start to the second half for Winnipeg, and maybe the Bombers heeded the words of Cal Murphy at halftime, whom I'm told blew a gasket and told his players that the opposition is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, not their own teammates. There's Shannon Baker, who fired a shot at Reggie Slack. I'm told the argument was one of those traditional Winnipeg receiver-quarterback arguments over whether Baker thought it was actually a hot route he was on. He didn't expect the ball to be heading his way.
All spilled milk at this point. 26,161, the second largest crowd of the year here in Winnipeg, as Mims turns the corner and is halfway to the first down marker.
Todd Storm now is in, playing right offensive tackle for Saskatchewan. He is the backup offensive lineman. They lost Keith Collins. Storm is a 9-year veteran out of Utah State who doubles as both offense and defensive lineman. But you see him with the block on Clark. An excellent drive blocker. He just has to work more on his pass protection. He's given up a sack already to Charlie Quinn.
Big gain for Mims. Make it 2nd and 2. Saskatchewan. They go back to the big guy. Mims puts his head down and is close to a first down. John Kropke going toe-to-toe with Robert Mims, the only 1,000-yard rusher in the CFL this season.
We're going to get another look at Todd Storm. He's the right offensive tackle. Watch as he downs block on Scrivener. What he is doing is that he's cutting, and that's an illegal block because he's already engaged with Vida up top, and you're not allowed to do that as an offensive lineman, so the officials need to keep an eye on that.
That's very dangerous. You see a lot of athletes with dreadful knee injuries in situations like that.
Well, defensive linemen really hate that. When you're engaged and someone is coming in on your legs, that's what's really known as a chop block, an illegal chop block, because you're engaged, and that's an illegal move. It should have cost Saskatchewan 15 yards on the play.
Robert Mims behind the blocking of Todd Storm and company, well on his way to 100 yards on the ground at 73 on 11 carries so far. That's an 7-yard average. 1st and 10. Saskatchewan, there's movement and a flag on the play. Dan Farthing has the out pattern and is in first down territory. Looked like Angelo Snipes moved.
Angelo Snipes got into that neutral zone. He was baited by Boyko, the fullback, coming up, jumping. Snipes reacted, and it's going to cost the team a flag on the play.
6 minutes to go in this third quarter. A 5-point ball game between two arch rivalries.
Winnipeg number 91. Penalties decline. First down.
They're going to go with the first down, but you'll see Angelo Snipes.
The CFL.
Saskatchewan at their own 45. Robert Mims gets the call again, but all kinds of traffic over the right side.
Well, this is a very tough front by the Winnipeg defense. They've done an excellent job of corralling Mims outside. Where they've had problems is when he's been able to bounce it on the search play and get to the corner. He's been able to turn the corner.
Every time I see Robert Mims, I can't help but think about that scene of him leaving Winnipeg, cut with all his personal collections in a green garbage bag 4 years ago.
It's called CFL Samsonite.
Here's Kemp, and here's that one way wide of Mims in the flat.
Well, it goes back to what Colin Scrivener said earlier, that they wanted to pressure Kemp because he gets nervous. And it seems to be going full circle right now. They've been putting the pressure on him. Charlie Clemens has had an excellent game along with the rest of the linebacking core and blitzing. And they put the pressure on the quarterback. And he's been nervous, getting rid of the ball, having happy feet. You'll get a good look right here. Watch the pressure coming up the middle. Kemp throwing the ball sooner than what he would have liked, and it went wide.
Jimmy Kemp throwing off the back foot with not much velocity there. Brett Mattis nearly blocked. Bobby Evans was in close. Alan Boyko grabs the ball, heads around the far side, and is forced out of bounds at his own 35-yard line.
Mark, want to remind our audience, coming up tonight following late local news, another edition of Sunday Night Racing on CBC, the Japanese Grand Prix from Suzuka, and then tomorrow on the CFL on CBC, our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader that starts with Montreal and Ottawa to play the Roughriders. Alouettes trying to go 4 points up on the Ticats, second place in the East Division. We conclude the day with the Argos in Calgary to face the Stampeders as Doug Flutie returns to McMahon Stadium for the first time as a member of the Argonauts. It all begins at 4 o'clock ET.
Wonder if we can get takeout turkey at the press box.
If you don't bring me a sandwich, you're going to have problems, okay?
First down, Bombers. Quick drop, quick read, and Basinger can't hang on. Slack trying to go across the inside of the Saskatchewan linebackers as Kent Austin looks on, looking refreshed after being forced out of the game in the first half with a shot to the head.
You know, when you throw those short, quick slant routes and you throw them in that 5 to 7 yard range, and when you're playing against very active linebackers like a Greg Battle and Dan Rastovich, they'll make devastating hits on those slots and cause a lot of problems for your receivers.
Second and 10. Slack has time. Now he's flushed. Gets out. He can run. He's got some blocks, but can't find the first down territory.
Greg Battle and Dan Rastovich doing an excellent job of closing on the play and making the stop short of the first down. You see Battle there, the 10-year veteran, Rastovich, the 13-year veteran, and Dan Rastovich yesterday catered lunch for his teammates here in Winnipeg with their plane arriving late from his his store, the Great Canadian Bagel Company. But excellent pursuit by the linebackers, making the stop.
Dan Rastovich is still denying to this day that he was the man inside that great bagel outfit on the sidelines of the Grey Cup last year in Regina. Bobby Cameron, who's had a great day punting, look at that, a 50-yard average. Get this one off from his own 30. Another skyscraper. And there's flags as Ruffin makes the catch and breaks some tackles. Ruffin gets outside Jean-Pierre. One man to beat is Bob Cameron, but here comes Watson. Another great move. Ruffin will go all the way. There is a flag on the play, but that might be a no yards call. And if so, Saskatchewan will waive it. What a run back.
What an outstanding effort by Aaron Ruffin. Saskatchewan.
Penalty is declined.
Wade Miller was in
Touchdown.
the no yards, but Saskatchewan has one of the best returns. They actually lead the CFL in punt returns. And Aaron Ruffin over the past 3 years has been one of the bright returners in the CFL. And what he did was he took it straight up the seam, as any coach likes for his returners to do. He found a crease, and he was off to the races, and Bob Cameron said, I can't make the stop. He brought it back against the grain and walked in the final 5 for the touchdown.
Hi, Ned, I love you. Hi, Ariel. Hi, Melvin. That's for you and Ned.
Aaron Ruffin with an 82-yard punt return for a touchdown, putting Saskatchewan in front. Jaggis, the point after, and score it. Saskatchewan 13, Winnipeg 11, with 2:57 to go in this third quarter. Special teams, huge for Saskatchewan as Ruffin goes all the way. You're looking at one of the most popular Saskatchewan Roughriders, Aaron Ruffin, who spends the offseason traveling the prairies, promoting Saskatchewan football, and I dare say even more popular right now with that 82-yard punt return for a touchdown to put the Riders in front by 2. Freeman Basinger on the run. Breaks a few tackles and is stacked up at about the 42-yard line.
Well, Aaron Ruffin right now has Saskatchewan in a position that they like to be in with a 13-11 lead. Hopefully his offense can get kick-started because their best offense has been their defense and special teams today. Now what can Reggie Slack do? He has struggled since coming in relief of Ken Austin. He hasn't been in total sync with his receivers. They need to find a groove.
The Bombers have lost their starting quarterback in Austin and their starting running back in Blaze Bryant, and now Benoit is down. Looks like he's favoring his right ankle, Sheldon Benoit from Western Kentucky.
Well, he's a second-year player, a linebacker that they have a bright, hoping future for, but, you know, he's down right now, but now they need to find something defensively. They've had a great defensive scheme going on. We saw that last series where Rasevich and Battle were able to come up and make the stop. Jim Daly, the former defensive coordinator, now head coach here in Saskatchewan, showing concern, pacing the sideline. Can his defense keep playing? They've played more plays than any other defense in the CFL this season.
When you lose a guy like Benoit who plays the special teams and gives the defense a rest, that is a critical factor late in this football game. And late in this season, when a lot of players like Benoit have already gone past their maximum in terms of playing games, 13, 14 games, most of these guys have never been this far, and now they're heading into the tail end of an 18-game season.
Mark, here is an update on Kent Austin. He has been confirmed as having a slight concussion, and also he's got a problem with his left shoulder. An old AC separation has flared up as a result of 3 hits he took on that one play that put him out of this game. He could go back in if he had to, but he'd have to take snaps one-handed.
Slack incomplete, and his last 3 passing attempts will go on the ground to Jean-Pierre, and he gets hit right at the line of scrimmage. Leonard Jean-Pierre, the rookie out of York University, filling in for Blaze Bryant, who had his hamstring taped but remains on the sidelines. Dan Rasevich making initial contact for Saskatchewan on that play.
Rasevich is playing well. You'll see him at the left outside linebacker position, filling the hole, stepping up inside, making the stop on Jean-Pierre for 13 seasons. Dan Rasevich has been doing that in the CFL.
They'll give Jean-Pierre a gain of 1. Make it 2nd and 9. Slack rolls out. He's going to run. Across the first down marker and across center field for a Bomber first down. Reggie Slack showing that mobility.
And that's what Reggie Slack has, is escapability at quarterback. The pocket collapsed around him. He escaped to the left. He saw the open running lane, and he just took off, and he was able to pick up the first down out beyond midfield. You'll see Robinson, who is having an outstanding season, commanding the double team at the defensive tackle position, could not get off of it quick enough to stop Slack.
Slack with play action fakes. Myron Wise had that one right in his hands and dropped it. Unforced errors on first down as Slack looks to the bench for the next call.
A lot of young receivers want to run prior to making the reception. Watch the head turn just as the ball starts to arrive, trying to get turned upfield to pick up the yardage.
2nd and 10.
Watch
Bombers.
the rookie running back, Jean-Pierre, pick up the blitz right up the middle. He cuts down the defensive lineman coming through.
Slack is getting pressure. Passing situation, he'll roll and go right at the corner. Jurison. Slack gets it away, but takes one heck of a shot from behind.
Tim Edwards came through and just plummeted Slack on that play, and they don't have anybody else, as Scott alluded to, on the sideline to come in. Ken Austin is hurting, but Slack took a devastating shot. He turned back and watched the pursuit by Edwards just as he releases the football, and he got up wobbly after taking that blow.
So the Bomber quarterbacks have been taking their licks from a pursuing Saskatchewan defense. You mentioned quarterbacks. There is one other, the Acadian rifle, Bob Cameron.
Well, after Bob Cameron stepped out of the way of Aaron Ruffin on that punt return, I don't think he wants to look a defensive lineman eye to eye.
Cameron right now, though, averaging 51 yards in the punting department. Bob Harris with the return, and there's a flag on the play. Bombers may have been too close. No yards could be the call.
Here's Eric Gulliford, had his knee scoped last week and is now flirting with the miracle of modern medicine because you say you hope to play next week, Eric.
I hope to play next week. My knee's feeling good. I went out and did a little running on it today. I ran on it yesterday, and it's showing improvement, a lot more improvement than what we had hoped. The swelling has been down, so it has enabled us to do a lot more with the knee.
Eric, what's the deal with this team today, from punch-ups on the sidelines to botch plays?
Well, I think, we're extremely competitive, and sometimes we screw things up amongst ourselves, and the tempers flare a little bit. I wouldn't say it was something that you
want to happen all the time.
To happen on the sideline, but unfortunately it happens.
All right, I'm sure you felt like punching quarterbacks, but fortunately it fell back. Thanks, Eric.
Kemp will run, bailing out of the pocket, and he might get 4 yards. I had a chance to be in the operating room to witness Eric Gulliford's arthroscopic surgery for a story we were doing for CBC television. It's amazing. He was on the table for 25 minutes, in and out. They cleaned up the torn knee cartilage, fixed a chip off his thigh bone, and had him out of there in 25 minutes, and that is amazing. He could be back on the football field within 3 weeks of surgery.
Do you get a discount when it's under half out?
I'll tell you, I felt a little queasy for the first few minutes. Second down, Saskatchewan. Quick shot to Mims, he's got it, and look at him hustle across center field, and a huge first down. K.D. Williams finally brings down Robert Mims, who's having a great game.
Talked about in the opening how valuable a game that Robert Mims had last week for Saskatchewan, and they needed to get him rolling in the offense today.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by B.F. Goodrich. Show them your true colors.
Standing room only in our section here in Winnipeg. A crowd of 26,161 on this gorgeous afternoon for football. James, how are those feet? You still need that space heater?
It's nice and warm. You always keep me hot up here.
Great crowd and a decent football game as we make the turn for the fourth quarter. First down, Saskatchewan, just across the Winnipeg 50-yard line. They lead 13-11. The handoff to Mims right through the middle, and Colin Scribner puts the arm lock on him after a gain of about 2. First quarter, or rather third quarter stats, and the Bombers improving, but net yards again virtually even.
Well, when you talk about two teams after playing 3 quarters of football with less than 200 yards of offense, I think you have to gravitate more towards the defensive side and speak about how outstanding both defenses has been, and they both have been stalwarts this afternoon.
Second down and 8. Jimmy Kemp. Short drop. Across the middle, looking for Harris, and he was clobbered by Bobby Evans.
Narcisse, I think, was intended
Looks like
receiver
it's
on
right,
the play.
Don Narcisse.
But it was very close whether Evans arrived slightly before the football did or not. Donald Narcisse was running the slant. But Kemp has gotten a bit nervous in the pocket. He's not planting his feet. And so when you don't do that as a quarterback, the ball has a tendency to tail on you and get wide of your receivers.
Jim Daly, the rookie head coach, a genius on defense, and he's got a good game plan today.
We'll get a good look right here as he has the happy feet, and he's trying to throw off those tippy toes. You can't do that. You got to get those heels down and get some drive through on the football so that you get some velocity on it.
So Matic will punt. The southpaw sending this one deep, and it's going to be into the Winnipeg end zone. Spacingher lets it go out of touch, and so put one more on the board for Saskatchewan. Brent Matic with a huge punt single, and now Saskatchewan with a 77-yard punt single on a great day for football, opening a 3-point lead on Winnipeg.
And the only bad thing about this crowd today is we have to stand underneath the soffit in the shade.
Yes, it would be nice to be out in the sunshine here today. Many of the leaves still on the trees here in Winnipeg. We're on borrowed time because Old Man Winter is around the corner. I remember last year on Halloween night we had snow and it stayed.
Remind me not to come by and trick-or-treat, okay?
Bombers go on offense on their own 35. They're down 14-11. Whistles halting these proceedings.
Well, at least there was no flag, so maybe we won't get another penalty.
George Black takes out his pen and paper as Slack goes to the bench to confer with Cal Murphy. Murphy giving Slack his instructions with Austin listening in. Jim Daly now hoping to get some decent field position by halting the Bombers here. 1st and 10 at their own 35-yard line.
You know, we haven't seen Shannon Baker in some time in the passing scheme for Winnipeg. This is the guy that they need to look at.
Nobody in the backfield as Slack goes deep, but it's overthrown, and there's a flag on the play.
That's in that area where you normally get an offside. Saskatchewan was blitzing on the play. But you ended up with a procedure from Winnipeg. You know, someone pulled out just a bit early, anticipating trying to get a block on the blitz.
Procedure, Winnipeg number 2. Penalties decline. 2nd down.
And a worrisome trend developing at quarterback for the Bombers. Slack has been incomplete in his last 6 attempts.
Well, it's a worrisome trend, but, you know, the thing about when you have a 2-quarterback system and you have a starter, normally the starter will take the most reps in practice. And that's what you get with Ken Austin. He's going to get the majority of the reps, and Slack is only going to get the secondary phase. And when he comes in and with this multi-tandems of receivers that they've used in Winnipeg this year, it's hard for anyone to get a rhythm. And when you're trying to go deep, that is the most difficult of all timing passes to throw in football.
And there's a bad sign for Saskatchewan. Troy Alexander is down on one knee.
Well, he's a young guy with a bright future that they hope. They moved him out to weak side defensive end for this game. So he's playing out of position, but he's had an outstanding game thus far. And this will bring the old veteran Glenn Kulka back into the game. This is the guy who's had back surgery earlier this year, and now he's back in. He's number 68. He'll be playing on the nose, and this is the guy, you talk about tough. They don't come any tougher than Glenn Kulka right there.
Glenn Kulka with the menacing tattoo on that large right bicep. 11th year in the CFL. A warrior indeed.
This is a guy that really doesn't even need shoulder pads to play. He's that tough.
And Robinson walks offside, and then Walby decks Kulka. Walby pleading innocence.
Well, they look like WrestleMania, but see, this is one of those situations where an official has to step in, and you call unnecessary roughness. The play was dead. Walby came in and took an excessive shot on Kulka when he was standing there not protecting himself.
As big as Kulka is, he gave way 100 pounds on that collision to the big Walby.
Saskatchewan number 98.
But also in a situation when you have a player standing there that's totally defensive because the play is dead. Watch right here as Chris Walby comes down. Kulka's just standing there, and he takes a cheap shot on him, and the official says it's acceptable. When do you call objectionable conduct or not?
Could have sworn you're on the field right now.
I would have never taken that shot, though.
Here we go. Slack to Baker in his hands, and he can't hold on. Right at 1st down territory, too.
He was very fortunate that Aaron Ruffin didn't come up with the deflection on that play. He got a hand on it, and it went off his fingertip. But if he had not been trying to make the hit, but that's what you do as a defensive back, try to make the hit. But watch right here as he makes an effort, and he gets one hand on the football. Could have been a huge blow against Winnipeg.
As Tommy Joe Coffey, the former Tiger Cat, used to say, if you can touch it, you should catch it. That one should have been caught by Baker. And now the Bombers are in a punting situation. Bombers have failed to convert 2nd down situations in their last 4 drives. Chapman with another beauty. Aaron Ruffin. Flags on the play. Looked like the Bombers had given him 5 yards, but the flag is down. K.D. Williams may be fingered for being too close.
Well, he was one of 2 Bombers in that neutral zone.
Frank Jaggis opening the scoring for Saskatchewan with that 44-yard field goal to make it 3-1 in what was a hockey game. Then Matic producing the safety to tie it up. At the half, it was 6-3. Saskatchewan on another Jagus field goal. Finally, the first touchdown of the game. Leonard Jean-Pierre coming in from 4 yards out, and then that electrifying 82-yard punt return for a touchdown by Aaron Ruffin. And Saskatchewan was up 13-11. One more on a single, and it's 14-11 Saskatchewan with 12-14 to go in the football game. Mims looking for an opening, and there isn't one, as Charlie Clemens and Colin Scrivener manhandle him. And now the flags are flying again as some fists were flying in the trenches.
Well, what amazes me is that it's allowed on one play and not allowed on the other play to take a free punch on a player, and then you come back in the next series and flag a team.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg number 48.
Now what Charlie Clemens did on this play was less than what Chris Walby had done in the previous series. You'll see Charlie Clemens right here at the end of the play when he gets the flag, and all he's doing is pushing. Chris Walby came in and leveled Glenn Calker and didn't get a flag. Even though you see Snipes and Terry going at it, they called Clemens for a slap. Looked like two girls going at it.
These games are always exciting and tough to aggressive football teams. So close right now with a playoff spot in the balance as Curtis Mayfield drops one right in the breadbasket.
Well, Curtis Mayfield hasn't seen many balls in his direction, but we've seen that from both sides this afternoon. Receivers trying to run prior to making the reception. Kemp puts the ball where it needs to be, but his receiver lets him down on the play. You spoke about it. If you can touch it, you got to catch it, and that hit, he got both hands on that one.
So it puts Saskatchewan 2nd and 10. Just over the Bomber 50. Kemp will roll left. Good contain, and Snipes has a sack. Sack number 13 for Big Angelo.
His first sack in 3 games. He had been in a bit of a drought, but that time Angelo Snipes was relentless in his pass rush and able to come in. At the top of your screen, he uses an inside move, and that's a no-no, but they had a stunt with Clemens coming around on the loop, and he forced him back into Snipes for the sack. The two defensive ends getting the job done.
Flag on the play. It looked like the Bombers were offside. Boyko fumbles the ball, gets it, and is quickly brought down just inside his own 20-yard line. Brooks Finley making the tackle. A 3-point ball game with 10:58 to go here in Winnipeg. Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium. Just under 11 minutes to go in the ball game, and a field goal separates Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. Tomorrow, our Thanksgiving Day double dip from the nation's capital in Ottawa. It's the Alouettes and Roughriders, and then right after that, we go to the west in the foothills, the Stampeders and the Argos in that rematch. The Argos winning by 1 at home earlier this season. Movement on the line. Shovel pass to Jean-Pierre. He breaks the tackle, turns back inside. What an effort! Leonard Jean-Pierre over first down territory, but it may be all for naught.
No, you're going to get Edwards 93 for Saskatchewan offsides. He jumped into that neutral zone, but what an excellent effort by Jean-Pierre on that run, eluding tacklers.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 93. Penalties decline. First down.
He made that play all within about a 5-yard bracket, dodging back and forth, making defenders miss, picking up the first down.
There's a man the Bombers missed dearly, Gerald Wilcox, hoping for his third 1,000-yard receiving season, snuffed out by a torn knee ligament. He's out for the year, although he had been saying his rehab's been going so well, he might be back for the playoffs. Dean Lytle with the pitch out, and he's caught behind the line of scrimmage.
Rogers did a good job of coming up. He's been moved back from the defensive end to the linebacker position that he played in 94-95 for Saskatchewan prior to going to Montreal. But watch as he comes down and stretches the play out. Jean-Pierre tries to get the block on him, but he fights him off with the hands, and he's able to make the stop on Lytle for a loss on the play.
Rogers manhandling Jean-Pierre. then making the tackle as Jean-Pierre tried to tackle him.
Well, normally you have the fullback Lido up doing the blocking and letting Jean-Pierre running because he's a more dominating blocker.
Second down, long, Winnipeg, Slack across the middle, and he's got his man right at first down territory. Might be just short. Freeman Basinger with the grab on close coverage.
He's going to come up about the length of a football short. As you see, 7 of the last 9 incomplete, and they desperately needed that completion. They're going to come up short, but if you recall the last time that Winnipeg was short on a 3rd and short situation when they tried to run the sweep, and Saskatchewan stopped them early in the first quarter.
3rd catch of the game for Basinger. He has 38 yards. A player who has been transient in the CFL, but Cal Murphy, who caught him at training camp, said he got caught in the numbers game, the import-non-import ratio. Really likes his fire. And the Bombers just get it.
Bad spot on the sideline with the sticks. I had that measured up right. Well, they needed that first down, and Slack needed the completion even more because he needs to develop his confidence. He only has 9:20 to go in the game, and Winnipeg has not even been close to getting into the end zone today.
Bombers with a big turnaround this time last year. They were 4-10. First losing season in recent memory. Big pass to the far sideline, and Myron Wise this time makes sure of the catch. First time we've seen the Bombers go deep.
Myron Wise is the man that can go deep for the Bombers, and that time he ran an excellent fade route to the corner, and he got behind Benson Donaldson, but better, even more important, Reggie Slack put the ball right on the money. As I spoke about, the deep pass is the most difficult timing pass in football to throw, and he put that one right on the numbers.
Myron Wise with a good game, 5 catches for 70 yards. The draw to Jean-Pierre. And he turns and twists for a decent game.
You know, I really like the way this young man explodes when he gets his hands on the football. There's no hesitation in his run. It was a draw play. He got the ball at about 5 yards deep, and he just explodes through the hole. Even though he picks up 6, this is a very powerful run for 6 yards by the rookie from York.
Amply filling the shoes of the injured starter, Blaze Bryant. We've got a 3-point football game with 8:20 to go. 2nd and 5 Bombers. Marching now. Flats. It's Shannon Baker. And he'll have the first down as he's driven out of bounds at the Saskatchewan 21-yard line. Terrell Ulmer with the tackle. Shannon Baker.
Shannon Baker, he's moved back into the slot. He and Boyko are rotating, and what that does is that it causes confusion for the secondary coverage of Saskatchewan because it creates the mismatch. And when you can get Baker running that wheel route to the corner outside, he has a lot of speed to pick up the first down.
This drive originating on the Winnipeg 20. Fake. Austin, or rather Slack, rolling out. He'll run! He's got some room. Slack takes a big lick from Rogers and goes down over the 5. There are flags all over the play.
Brett McNeil is going to get an unnecessary roughness call, and it's really going to hurt the Bombers. A marvelous effort by Reggie Slack to get his team down in the red zone at the 5-yard line. And you got McNeil with the unnecessary penalty coming down, getting the cheap shot after the play was dead. Oh, they're actually going to say it was on Saskatchewan. I was watching McNeil as he came in with the late hit at the end of the run. Actually, McNeil was the one who got hit.
Oh, yeah, you can see that. It looked like Todd Storm.
Todd Storm came in and getting his 2nd call of the day.
No, it was Kulka. It was Kulka with the cheap shot who came in from behind.
Well, I guess he thought that since he had one laid on him earlier, Glenn Kulka came down and saw Brett McNeil watching the play at the end of the run and blasted the offensive guard for Winnipeg. And he got called where Walby didn't get called when he blasted him earlier in the 4th quarter here.
1st and goal. Bombers on the 2. Slack turns, gives to Dean Lytle. He puts his head down and comes right down on the goal line. What a collision. 6 foot 3 inch, 240-pound Dean Lytle.
The football on the play.
Looks
it's
like a
loose
rugby
ball down at the bottom there. But you talk about a devastating run defense. Saskatchewan, when you look at what they're doing, Winnipeg is going to recover, but watch the impact at the line of scrimmage here as Lido gets to the top, and Dave Van Bellingham and Greg Battle come over the top. Van Bellingham, a free safety at about 170, and Battle and Rasevich, those two linebackers, have had an outstanding game today, along with the free safety Van Bellingham, with the huge hit on the fullback Dean Lido.
Cal Murphy trying to keep the crowd quiet. Second down and goal. Nicholas is in. So is Graham. Corrects for blocking. It's a sneak. Flack's got it. Touchdown. Blue Bombers. Bombers take the lead as Slack scores his second touchdown of the season.
Cal Murphy said that he wanted to develop his running game, but he was expecting it more from his running backs. Reggie Slack took it on himself to use his legs to get the ball down inside the 5-yard line. Then he decided that he would finish it off with the quarterback sneak, the offensive line with the surge. Touchdown Bombers.
Westwood with the point after. There are flags on the play. 3 flags in the end zone on the convert attempt by Troy Westwood.
Probably going to end up with illegal substitution on the play.
Reggie Slack with all kinds of push, and he's got the Bombers in front, 18-14. The Bombers used 10 plays over 90 yards on that scoring drive, capped by the 1-yard dash set up by this play from Slack.
Well, what you do is you get outside and contain. Dan Rasevich gambled, went inside. Slack saw that, utilized his running ability to get outside, and picked up the first down inside the 5, able to capitalize with the touchdown that he took in for himself to put Winnipeg back in the lead, 18-14.
And just as important, the Bombers ate up 3 minutes off the clock. 6:16 to go. They lead by 4 as the kickoff from Westwood goes out of bounds at the 19.
And Westwood has been struggling all afternoon with his kicks. He's missed the 3 field goals. He's had a couple of kickoffs that have gone awry. If you recall his first kickoff, where he kicked the knuckler and it was caught at about the 40-yard line to open the game for Saskatchewan up at midfield.
Reggie Slack, the architect of this touchdown drive, going over the right guard.
It was a surge by the offensive line. They got good surge by Pangelides and Walby on the right side to get that push, to push back that Saskatchewan defense that's been very tough to run against all day and give Winnipeg its first major of the afternoon.
The Bombers twice now in scoring position, coming away with touchdowns. That has been a problem. They seem to have that rectified this afternoon here in the second half. They'll move Westwood's tee back to the 30, and he'll try again on this kickoff. Lots of leg in this one. Right over top of the return team is Ruffin. Has to go back into his own end zone, and he'll concede a single. 85-yard kickoff just when you think that Westwood hasn't got any boot in that leg. He drills one.
It would have been better taking it off at the spot that they would allow you, I believe, up around the 40-45-yard line. If you'd have taken it, would have gone out of bounds. But Troy Westwood gets a lot of leverage on this kick. He torques that body and drives it and staggers and stumbles and wobbles downfield. He's still falling through. It looked like you on your golf swing there, Mark. You know.
I've seen you take a few hunks of sod out of some pretty nice golf courses myself.
Hey, you could run a fur factory with all the pelts you get.
6:04 to go. 19-14 Bombers. Kemp all the way in quarterback for Saskatchewan. It's picked off. Bobby Evans has got the ball. Evans on the return. Forced out of bounds at the 40.
Excellent break on the ball by Bobby Evans. It was slightly behind the receiver Farthing, but the defensive back Evans was able to close for the great interception for Winnipeg. Winnipeg, with Winnipeg leading Saskatchewan 19-14. Watch the mechanics of Jimmy Kemp. He has gone a lean to his left. You have to come over the top. You're throwing the ball back to the grain and let the floor go with the floor of the receiver. He throws the ball behind Farthing, and Evan gets the jump and picks the ball off.
Slack now. Bombers trying to take advantage. He's going deep to Baker. Close coverage, Terrell Ulmer, and there's a flag on the play.
Dave Von Conen had a nice grip on Tim Edwards on the play. He almost undressed him back at the 50-yard line.
Holding, Winnipeg number 63.
Chris Walby with the call, and he's incensed about that.
He says his wasn't as bad as Von Conen's. They had both of them coming. But you'll get a shot of it here as Von Conen is undressing Rasevich, and Walby is just pushing, so he really wasn't the culprit on the play. They missed the numbers, but Von Conen had a solid grip on Rasevich as he came around the corner.
So that'll push the ball back just inside the Saskatchewan 50. First down and 20. Slack straight back to pass. Looks at the curl pattern right at Shannon Baker, but Aaron Ruffin was all over him, and it's incomplete.
Aaron Ruffin has had an outstanding all-around afternoon. He has been a magnificent punt returner for Saskatchewan, and now is an excellent defensive play, coming up over the top without drawing the interference flag, getting the breakup.
Marvin Graves warming up on the sidelines at the Saskatchewan bench.
And it's hard to play it much better than Aaron Ruffin did on that play. And Marvin Graves spoke about it. They needed to bring him in for a few plays earlier. Now he may be able to force to come in under the gun.
Second and 20. Slack with lots of time. Dumps it across the middle, and Lytle tries to one-hand it, and he can't hold on. Dean Lytle, the big fullback, couldn't grip that pass right in his hands.
You talk about time. Reggie Slack had a whole afternoon to sit in the pocket, and he threw a nice soft feather pass. Dean Lytle should have made that reception, but once again, players trying to run prior to bringing the ball in. You'll see he'll get the right hand on it, and he could have easily made that one, but he was looking to see if there was a defender in his tracks.
Slack injured the thumb on his throwing hand, catching it in the defender's arms on the follow-through of that pass. We'll have to see how badly that is. Bob Cameron with a 49.8-yard average. We'll let this one go from his own 50. That one wobbly. Ruffin will take it at the 18 and goes nowhere. Strong special teams coverage from the Bomber punt cover, and Kemp will come back in.
Well, Jimmy Kemp has really struggled this afternoon. Last week he looked like he might be the savior for Saskatchewan, but this afternoon he is showing a bit of uncertainty about his pass and play calling, and he has thrown the ball up a couple of times that has really cost him 3 interceptions. That's like his first game when he came in relief against Ottawa. 3 interceptions once again today.
Time ticking now on Saskatchewan. 4 minutes left in this football game. The crowd heats up. There's a blitz, and Colin Scribner comes right through the middle with a sack. Throwing Jimmy Kemp down like a rag doll. That's what they like in Winnipeg. Good, tough defense.
Well, they've been known about it. You're going to get Clemens here. You're going to get Storm to step out. Scribner's going to get a clean run inside, untouched. And Jimmy Kemp doesn't stand a chance on the play. Scribner with the big sack, putting Saskatchewan inside the 15.
Big loss. Second and 16, Saskatchewan. Kemp rushed again, gets this one away. But it's academic. Rod Harris makes the catch, and Brent Manich will have to punt from his end zone.
With the kind of pressure that Winnipeg is coming with right now, the proper play call probably would have been a draw or a quick screen pass to Mims and out of the backfield. You don't try to go down the field when they're bringing 7.
Jimmy Kemp looking somewhat intimidated as his team will turn the ball over. 3:05 to go in the football game, and Kent Austin is warming up. It looks like he may be pressed back into service after leaving in the first half with a head injury because Reggie Slack has injured the thumb on his throwing hand. It was just bandaged moments ago. his own 5. Gets a nice high spiral. Pushing Basinger back to his 40. Basinger looks for a wall and is brought down at the 53-yard line by Joseph.
So Ken Austin is going to be forced to come back into the game for Winnipeg on the play. We get a look at that Slack injury as he's back in the pocket trying to deliver the pass. You'll see Robinson come in if we get a freeze right here, and you'll see as that hand is right there, it nicks right on his face mask, and he split the thumb on his throwing hand, which creates a lot of difficulty in him holding the football. He gets up, taking a look at it, seeing where he has split that thumb on the follow-through.
For a quarterback, the thumb is the main supporting digit underneath the ball. And it's even harder to grip the ball when it's all taped up. Big gain up the middle. Jean-Pierre once again a force on the ground for Winnipeg.
Well, Jean-Pierre has had a nice game filling in for Blaze Bryant. Now that we get Ken Austin back in, you see his numbers from the first quarter. Now, he was forced out of the game with a slight concussion and shoulder injury, so you shouldn't expect too much passing from Ken Austin, maybe a short pass or two, but if you look at him carrying his left shoulder, that's where he has the problem. He had a shot in that shoulder 2 weeks ago prior to the Toronto game, so he's in quite a bit of discomfort physically and mentally at this moment.
First down on that run by Jean-Pierre at the Saskatchewan 47-yard line. Slack is not even attempting to throw a ball on the sidelines. Does that mean he will not be back and the Bombers will have to go the rest of the way with Kent Austin? 5 points, the Bomber lead, 19-14. Dean Lytle with the call right up the gut, and a gain of 3 for the Bombers.
Mark, I just had a word with Reggie Slack. He's concerned that his thumb may be fractured. He says there's absolutely no way he can grip the ball and that he's done for the day. So it's Kent Austin for the 2:20 left in this game.
Well, that's a huge blow for the Bombers, not only for this game, but for down the road. Fingers take at least 6 weeks to heal.
They're going to have to hope that Kevin McDougal, if the thumb is fractured, can come out of the mothballs.
Lytle, or rather Jean-Pierre, is wrestled by Jurison and Rasevich. Kent Austin not putting the ball in the air, and there are boos from the crowd.
Well, you have to look at Kent Austin. He is laboring, holding that left arm down as he come off. He really doesn't have any support from it, so you're not going to see him throwing the football. If you recall, he said he took a shot to his left shoulder, so he really didn't have much ability left in it. So the game is on the back of the Winnipeg offensive linemen. They have to be able to run the football.
Austin appeared to be talking to his teammates and gesturing, pointing to the shoulder. So this is a real jackpot for the Bombers. A quarterback with a broken thumb, apparently, and Slack, and Austin with a bad shoulder.
Well, you know, as a quarterback, that left arm is like a balancing pendulum when you're throwing the football.
It's like a baseball pitcher. It's the lead. Ruffin will let this one go deep, and he'll concede another punt single.
Well, that conceding that punt single really doesn't make any difference. Saskatchewan needs to get into the end zone if they have any hope of winning this game, whether it's a 4-point or a 5-point or a 6-point lead. They need 7. And so that's what they're playing for. Jimmy Kemp has had this game in his hands all day. With 1:34 to go, he has shown that he can be rattled, and Winnipeg has been bringing the house in the past 2 series, and they've gotten to the young Saskatchewan quarterback.
So Jim Daly wondering, what is this young quarterback made of? They've gone through 5 quarterbacks this season, and now the pressure on Kemp.
Now this is where he has to look at that 5-yard range, 3-step drop, and get rid of the football.
Saskatchewan needs a converted touchdown to take the lead. Oh, what a hit from K.D. Williams. But Dan Farthing holds on.
As we say, K.D.
Kevin Dwayne Williams, but the Canadian Dan Farthing out of the University of Saskatchewan sure-handed on that one.
Dan Farthing deserves all the praise in the world. Watch this shot that he takes by Williams. You're talking about being served up on a platter, but he made the reception.
First down. Kemp rolling out of the pocket now, looking for a receiver. He'll run for his life and steps out of bounds just before Greg Clark gets a lick.
Greg Clark got a lick, but you should have saw the lick that Don Narcisse laid on Dustin Anderson. Dustin Anderson is about 6'5" and 270 pounds. Donald Narcisse is #2 all-time leading receiver in the CFL, goes about 185, but look at the shot that Narcisse comes in and puts on Anderson to spring his quarterback to get close to the first down.
Crowd trying to get into this game. 1:12 to go. 20-14 Winnipeg. Kemp dumps it over to Narcisse. Nice move to beat Clark, but then he drops just across the first down marker.
Narcisse is playing all of the game this afternoon. Not only he's laying devastating blocks on hulking defensive linemen, but he's coming up with his 4th reception of the afternoon to put him within 1 of Rocky DiPietro, but more important, to keep the drive alive with another first down.
Jimmy Kemp putting together a series with the pressure on, fakes the draw, throws down the middle. Mayfield had it in his hands and couldn't hold on. Jimmy Kemp feathered that ball right into the lap of Curtis Mayfield.
And you talk about, that's the second one that Curtis Mayfield has gotten away from him this afternoon. All you have to do is grip the ball. The ball is there. Jimmy Kemp put it there. He feathered it in, and Curtis Mayfield let his teammates and his quarterback down by dropping the football that he possibly could have gotten into the end zone on.
All right, how will Kemp react? 2nd and 10.
You got to go back to what's working, the short passing game.
55 seconds to go in the football game. They need a converted touchdown. Here's the blitz. Kemp tries to throw the screen to Boyko, but it goes over his head.
I'll tell you the reason why that play was broken up. John Kropke got right in the middle of those offensive linemen as they were trying to release and held on to a couple of them, not allowing them to get out in open field, and he couldn't get Boyko through the seam out in the pass route. You get a good look right here. John Kropke has always been noted as a run stopper. Held up a couple offensive linemen as K.D. Williams was putting the pressure on Kemp. Now it's 3rd and 10. This is the game for Saskatchewan.
Let's go, says Cal Murphy into the headset. 51 seconds to go. 3rd and 10. No choice but to go for it. Saskatchewan. Kemp in the shotgun. Pressure. He's going to be sacked. And he dropped the ball. Boyko's got it. And Greg Clark takes him out of bounds short of the first down. What an effort by Kemp.
And that play right there would just basically end all hopes that Saskatchewan had for postseason play. But the game ended fittingly with Charlie Clemens and Angelo Snipes, part of that linebacking core of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You see Clemens on the corner coming along with Snipes, putting the pressure on Kemp, forcing him to lateral back to Boyko, but his efforts just weren't enough to get him to the first down sticks.
Bomber defense had all the bases covered, but what a heads-up play by Kemp in the grass. Got rid of the ball of Boyko, and they had a chance until Greg Clark drove him out of bounds.
It's been a tough afternoon for that young man, but a happy day for Cal Murphy. Once again, he sees his team securing down a playoff spot.
Well, with 2 injured quarterbacks, the Bombers relied on their defense, and they came through.
Well, they relied on their defense. Now there's going to be some juggling within their offense next week. You have Reggie Slack with the possible broken thumb. You have Ken Austin with the possible slight separation of the shoulder, also slight concussion. You really have to go in and check out Kevin McDougal. He is your only healthy quarterback, but he doesn't have the seasoning that they've been expecting from him. He hasn't been able to work his way into the offensive scheme here, so they're going to have big shoes to fill next week.
Well, McDougal has, for the most part, been running the other team's plays as the scout team quarterback. He had that one big game we mentioned here a year ago, 25-24 win over Saskatchewan, but he needs reps, and can he be up to speed if they need him in a week?
Well, he's going to be forced to take the reps next week. I don't know if Ken Austin is physically capable of going through every day of practice next week. He is going to need the rest and rehabilitation more than anything. He is the player who signals in the plays during the games. Next week, the pressure may be on him to call the plays during the game.
No time on the clock. Austin takes the knee, and that's it. The Bombers will qualify for the playoffs in the West with a 20-14 win over Saskatchewan. The Bombers now 8-7. The Roughriders drop to 4-12, and their playoff hopes are gone. Here's Scotto.
All right, Mark. Drive that gave the Bombers the winning point. A lot of trouble in this game. You guys almost had a rise above yourselves, but you got the W.
Yeah, we did, and it feels good. This clinches a playoff berth for us, and we did what we haven't done in 6 quarters is put touchdowns on the board. So, we feel good about that, and hopefully we can stay on the streak that we're on and take it into the playoffs.
You and Shannon Baker made up?
Absolutely. It gets hype out here during the game, and emotions are pretty high, but, we're all family.
Before we run out of time, Reg, I got to ask you about your thumb. Do you think it's broken?
We don't know right now. I'm going to get x-rays in the morning. We'll know more then.
All right, Reggie, thank you for your time. Congratulations on getting this win, as tough as it was.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers prevail over Saskatchewan at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon. 17 straight playoff appearances for the Bombers. This year's berth clinched today at the expense of the Green Riders, 20-14. The final score will return in just a moment. We want to remind you that tomorrow on the CFL on CBC, we're serving up a doubleheader that starts with Montreal and Ottawa. The Alouettes bidding to strengthen their hold on second place, and we'll finish with the Argos in Calgary to engage the Stamps in a rematch of the league's 2 best teams. Tonight, following late local news, it's the Japanese Grand Prix on Sunday Night Racing on CBC. In Winnipeg this afternoon, Reggie Slack and the Bombers dispatched the Green Riders 20-14 the final. Defense had a lot to do with this victory as well. Katie Williams enjoying the victory. It confirms a playoff berth for the Bombers. Thanks for watching, and so long from Winnipeg Stadium.
CBC Sports, home of the champions. This is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.